Chapter 11:08. That's impossible. Sikong Zun roared. Nothing is impossible. That day when we defeated the Black Crow army and returned to the northern desert city, it was Jia Lin and Jia Yin who led the army to block our retreat and put us in danger. You said they didn't betray us, so why did they do that? Was it you who gave the order? Ling Xiao asked loudly. How could it be me who gave the order? I didn't know about this at all. Sikong Zun hurriedly cleared his name. Since that's the case, I killed the traitors and helped the emperor get rid of a disaster. How can you say that I'm guilty? Did you become the great general of the Black Crow Empire? Ling Xiao's words hit the heart, making Sikong Zun unable to retort. Although he was very angry, he had always been very restrained. Especially when he took action at the city gate, he didn't let the Northern Desert Army get involved, and when he came to the square, he didn't let the Northern Desert Army do anything either. His purpose in doing so was to not leave any evidence for others to use. This way, he would be able to use his glib tongue to make Sikong Zun speechless. Fine, even if you're right, how do you explain robbing the execution ground and killing Ji Zhongran, Wan Qiufeng, and the many soldiers who supervised the execution? This is also a capital offense, don't you know? Sikong Zun asked again. Robbing the execution ground? Ling Xiao said indifferently, Ji Ning and the others are not only innocent, but also meritorious. They were framed by a traitor like you and set up a private execution ground. I only saved the Divine Phoenix Empire's meritorious officials. Do you think I'm guilty for doing this? Traitor? Ling Xiao actually called Sikong Zun a traitor in front of so many people again, and Sikong Zun didn't have any words to refute. What? Old dog Sikong, you're still not convinced. Ling Xiao looked coldly at Sikong Zun and questioned in front of everyone. You said I was a traitor. You said I was a sinner. Now I've explained it clearly. Then may I ask General Sikong, how do you explain the numerous crimes you have committed? I think both the Celestial Emperor and the people of the Imperial City want to know the truth. Ling Xiao, even if you have a glib tongue, I, Sikong Zun, am an upright man who is loyal to his country and has never committed any crimes. You accuse me of framing Jining, but you have no evidence. You said that I sent people to kill you halfway, but you still have no evidence. You said that I abandoned the army and fled back to the Imperial City, but the truth is that you and the rebels in the Northern Desert City tried to kill me. I couldn't fight against so many rebels by myself, so I could only return to the Imperial City to ask for help. Sikong Zun believed that Tomohiko Kuma would not betray him, so even if Ling Xiao captured Tomohiko Kuma alive, it would be useless. That was why he dared to treat the lie as the truth. Haha, I knew that you, old dog Sikong, would not admit it. Ling Xiao sneered. But I have told you more than once that when I returned to the Imperial City, I dared to accuse you of being a rebel because I have evidence. Evidence? Show me what evidence you have. Don't always speak without thinking. I am the Imperial General, not someone you can slander. If you can't show me evidence today, then you will die. Sikong Zun really wanted to slap Ling Xiao to death, but when he saw the Moon Lady standing beside Ling Xiao, he did not dare to move. You want evidence? That's easy. Ling Xiao sneered, then grabbed Tomohiko Kuma's head. What are you doing? Tomohiko Kuma is the only witness. Are you going to kill him? Sikong Zun roared. What? General Sikong wants him to speak? Ling Xiao asked. Only Tomohiko Kuma knows who colluded with the Black Crow Empire. Since the Emperor is present, then let Tomohiko Kuma speak. I am not afraid of a crooked shadow, Sikong Zun said with a smile. All right, in that case, ask away. Ling Xiao tapped Tomohiko Kuma's body, waking Tomohiko Kuma from his coma. Tomohiko Kuma, as the little Duke of the Black Crow Empire, have you ever colluded with Ji Ning to harm me? Sikong Zun asked loudly. His voice was very loud. Everyone in the square, and even the entire Imperial City, heard him clearly. Tomohiko Kuma gritted his teeth and said, That's right. We discussed with Ji Ning to kill Sikong Zun, then instigate an internal conflict between Northern Desert Pass and Northern Desert City, so that we can capture Northern Desert City in one fell swoop. It's a pity that Ji Ning is useless. He was actually injured by Sikong Zun's poisoned arrows. Then we encountered the evildoer Ling Xiao, who is proficient in the art of war, and defeated our army. I hate him to death. His words were really beautiful. Because he couldn't frame Ling Xiao, he might as well portray Ling Xiao as the hero of Divine Phoenix Empire, and then splash dirty water on Jining. Anyway, wasn't this what Sikong Zun wanted? As long as Sikong Zun was satisfied, he might be able to escape. Although he suffered a big setback this time, he also learned a lot and understood a lot of things. As long as he could return to the Black Crow Empire, he believed that he would definitely be able to reach a higher level. Ha ha ha, did you hear that, Ling Xiao? This is the witness you brought back. You should believe what he says, right? Let's not talk about other things. Ji Ning actually plotted against me and instigated an internal conflict between the Expeditionary Army and the Northern Desert Army. This gave the Black Crow Empire an opportunity to take advantage of. He is a traitor. He deserves to be beheaded. You actually broke into the execution ground to save him. Although your contributions are not small, your contributions cannot make up for your crimes. Even if you can avoid the death penalty, you can't escape punishment. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Ling Xiao suddenly laughed loudly. Your Majesty, you also saw that even Tomohiko Kuma wanted to protect Sikong Zun. Doesn't this prove that he is a traitor? You have already seen the real process through the Blood Mirror. The Blood Mirror is a divine artifact of the Scorpion Men tribe. It has two special effects. One is to track a person's soul. This is why Timur Mutu wanted to snatch it. The other is even more powerful. It can extract a person's true memories, so no matter how the person lies, it will still play out the real process. Feng Ming Wuliang's expression was very ugly. Before he came here, he had indeed seen Tomohiko Kuma's true memories. Feng Qingyan had brought them to the imperial palace for him to see. But now, Tomohiko Kuma had actually lied. While slandering Jining, he had also whitewashed Sikong Zun. So wasn't the result obvious? Your Majesty, don't be in a hurry to deal with Sikong Zun. I hope that all the soldiers and civilians of the imperial city will know the truth. Only then will they understand who is the traitor and who is the hero. Ling Xiao smiled and said to the crowd, Vice Principal Feng, please play the memory extracted by the Blood Mirror towards the sky. The bigger the image, the better. Okay. Feng Qingyan pointed the Blood Mirror at the sky. A moment later, a blood-red cloud appeared in the sky. Chapter 1109. Above the blood-red clouds, a series of memories began to play. They were Tomohiko Kuma's memories. In Tomohiko Kuma's memories, everything was as Ling Xiao had said. That day, Sikong Zun had left the military camp and secretly met with Timur Mutu and Tomohiko Kuma to discuss how to deal with the northern desert city. Disregarding everything else, just this point alone was enough to stun all the soldiers and civilians in the city. The great general that they had trusted had actually been secretly colluding with the people of the Black Crow Empire. These were Tomohiko Kuma's memories. They were more credible than Tomohiko Kuma's words. In the memories released by the Blood Mirror, there were not only scenes of Tomohiko Kuma colluding with Sikong Zun. There were also scenes of Ling Xiao turning the tide of the battle and slaughtering the Black Crow Empire's army. There were also scenes of Ling Xiao calmly dealing with the situation and scaring off Timur Mutu. These scenes made everyone in the imperial city feel their blood boil. They could not control their emotions. Admiration for Ling Xiao. Gratitude and trust for the Northern Desert Army. He felt ashamed and regretful towards Jining. Hatred for Sikong Zun. All these emotions were intertwined together. It was as if a terrifying volcano was about to erupt in the imperial city. If the emperor could not handle today's matter properly, then the soldiers and civilians of the imperial city might really rebel. Ji Ning was loyal to the emperor and served his country. LV Chenglong and the others also fought bravely. Ling Xiao was the divine general of the divine Phoenix Empire who had descended from the heavens. This group of people was actually called rebels by Sikongzun. They actually believed Sikongzun's words and insulted and humiliated Jining and the others. All the regret and shame turned into incomparable anger at this time. Colluding with the Black Crow Empire was a capital offense. He framed Zhongliang, tortured Jining and the others until they were crippled, and even killed LV Chenglong. He even wanted to kill Ling Xiao. Even if that old dog Sikong Zun died 1,000 or 10,000 times, it still wouldn't be able to dispel the hatred in their hearts. Emperor, please uphold justice for us and severely punish the treacherous officials. Ling Xiao suddenly cupped his hands and said loudly to Fengming Wuliang, Emperor, please make the decision and punish the treacherous officials severely. Everyone in the Northern Desert Army shouted, Emperor, please make the decision and punish the treacherous officials severely. This time, almost all the soldiers and civilians in the imperial city roared. Even the Phoenix Academy, which used to be at odds with Qingshu College, stood on Ling Xiao's side. After all, the conflict between the two academies was a conflict between the people. However, Sikong Zun's actions were already betraying the country. How could they tolerate it? Sikong Zun was trembling all over. He didn't expect that the trap he had carefully set up would become the stage for Ling Xiao to turn the tables. If he had known this would happen, he would have killed Ling Xiao personally. Then he wouldn't have made such a big mistake. Your Majesty, your humble servant believes that you will enforce the law impartially. Ling Xiao kicked the ball to Fengming Wuliang. He wanted to see what kind of choice the emperor would make. Fengming Wuliang was very upset, but there was nothing he could do. To be honest, everything that Sikong Zun did was secretly ordered by him, so he definitely couldn't kill Sikong Zun. However, if he didn't handle today's matter well, once the people started to revolt, his position as emperor would be over. He didn't do all those things just to lose his throne. He wanted to be the emperor of the divine Phoenix Empire forever. He was upset with Sikong Zun's uselessness, and at the same time he was upset with Ling Xiao's cunning. Today's scene was completely created by Ling Xiao. It was as if he was being roasted on a fire. What could he do? Fengming Wuliang took a deep breath and said, Ling Xiao, don't worry. Sikong Zun committed such a heinous crime. We won't forgive him no matter what. However, the country has its laws. What kind of punishment should be meted out to the law department? What do you think? Your Majesty, your humble servant has no problem with that. However, you can ask the people of the divine Phoenix Empire if they agree. Of course, Ling Xiao wouldn't give them a chance to try the case. He knew that Fengming Wuliang wanted to protect Sikong Zun. Once he delayed, Sikong Zun might take the opportunity to escape. Roar, kill Sikong Zun. Kill Sikong Zun. The thunderous roar shook the entire imperial city. Fengming Wuliang's expression became even more unsightly. Right now, Ling Xiao was standing on the side of the people of the divine Phoenix Empire. If he didn't agree to Ling Xiao's request, then he would really become the enemy of the tens of millions of people in the imperial city. Your Majesty, Sikong Zun was originally the lightning demon king of the True Devil Empire. This person once infiltrated the sacred dynasty of the Sky Dragon continent and caused the sacred dynasty to be defeated by the True Devil Empire. Do you want the divine Phoenix Empire to follow the same path? Feng Yinshan finally spoke. This time, he aimed his spear directly at Sikong Zun. This was the best opportunity to gain public support. As long as Feng Yinshan wasn't an idiot, he would do this. Moreover, he really wanted to get rid of Sikong Zun. Not only was Sikong Zun a traitor, but he was also Emperor Fengming Wuliang's subordinate. He must be killed. The Crown Prince of the Hidden Mountains, Crown Prince Yinshan. Hearing Feng Yinshan's words, countless soldiers and civilians shouted his name in support of him. At this time, Emperor Fengming Wuliang had nowhere to run. If he really wanted to incite a revolt, then Feng Yinshan might very well ascend to the throne with the support of these tens of millions of people. Sikong Zun despaired. He was well aware that in this situation, even if Fengming Wuliang wanted to save his life, it was impossible. Ling Xiao was too cunning. Are you done with your nonsense? Just when Sikong Zun had completely sunk into despair and was preparing to accept his miserable fate, the woman from the Righteous Alliance spoke. Everyone was stunned. However, Fengming Wuliang revealed a smile. This foolish and arrogant woman might be a very good turning point. He was well aware that Jia Lin's wife was a disciple of the everlasting Joy Immortal Island. Her status was revered and her strength was not ordinary. And in the eyes of the everlasting Joy Immortal Island, tens of millions of people were nothing. Thus, although this woman was foolish and arrogant, she was definitely the only existence that could reverse the situation today. Madam Jia, do you have something to say? Fengming Wuliang deliberately asked out of curiosity. Of course I have something to say. Madam Jia coldly said. I don't care which of you is a traitor or which of you is a hero. None of this has anything to do with me. I only care about the person who killed my husband and son today. That person must die. These words were domineering and callous. Her meaning was that no matter what her family did, whoever killed them would have to die, even if they were the hero of the country. In Madame Jia's eyes, there was no country, no people, and no hero. She only cared about her own interests. Sometimes, shielding one's family was an advantage, but sometimes it was purely pushing one's family into a pit of fire. If Jia Yin didn't have such a mother, he probably wouldn't have been so arrogant, and he certainly wouldn't have died so early. Chapter 11:10. Sikong Zun seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. He hurriedly got down on his knees and said to Madame Jia, Madame Jia, that Ling Xiao once humiliated young Master Jia Yin in Ling Yu's courtyard. This person is extremely despicable. Because he envies young Master Jia Yin's talent and status, he has been constantly trying to kill him. On that day in the northern desert, if not for this one's timely rescue, young Master Jia Yin would have already been killed by this brat. I hope that your majesty will give me justice. So what if he's a rebel? So what if he's a spy? As long as Madame Jia is protecting him, what can anyone do to him? Ling Xiao, oh Ling Xiao, although you've worked so hard to create this situation today, the final victor can only be me. Be at ease. With me here, no one will be able to touch you today. For some reason, Madame Jia really did want to protect Sikong Zun, and she had even said such words in front of tens of millions of soldiers and soldiers. Seeing Madame Jia's arrogant and despotic appearance, Ling Xiao suddenly turned to the Emperor, Fengming Wuliang, and said, Your Majesty, this woman has no regard for the law and treats heroes like dirt, yet she wants to protect a rebel. Could it be that the divine Phoenix Empire doesn't belong to your Majesty, but to this woman? Ling Xiao once more threw this difficult problem to the Emperor to deal with. Fengming Wuliang sighed and said, Ling Xiao, you don't know, but the highest authority in the divine Phoenix Empire is not we, but the Righteous Alliance. Madame Jia is a member of the Righteous Alliance, so she naturally represents the will of the Righteous Alliance. Not even we can influence her. Is the Righteous Alliance not bound by the law? Ling Xiao asked. When a sovereign commits a crime, he is as guilty as a commoner, and the Righteous Alliance is naturally no exception. This was a rule that was established when the Righteous Alliance was first established. But Fengming Wuliang helplessly sighed. This old scoundrel was extremely crafty. Although he wanted nothing more than for the Righteous Alliance to fall, he would never provoke it. With these words, he was clearly telling Ling Xiao and the tens of millions of soldiers that if they wanted to bring Sikong Zun to justice, they should not fight with him, but go to the Righteous Alliance. Of course, although he was smart to do this and stay out of the matter, his way of doing things made the hearts of countless soldiers and civilians turn cold. An emperor actually did not take the initiative to stand up for his country's heroes when they were being bullied and framed. What qualifications did he have to continue holding the position of emperor? Madame Jia, although you are a member of the Righteous Alliance, you cannot disregard the law. Today, Zun must be killed, but Ling Xiao cannot die. The one who stood out to speak was Feng Yinshan. He was also a smart person, but he was even more daring. Perhaps he knew that it would be very difficult for him to compete with Phoenix Cry Chishan, who had outstanding military exploits, not to mention that Phoenix Cry Chishan had the support of the powerful Ice Phoenix clan. In addition, it was the Ice Phoenix clan that currently held power. If he wanted to defeat Phoenix Cry Chishan and Phoenix Cry Immeasurable, his only way was to find another path and win the support of the people. And this time was his chance. It was true that becoming an enemy of the Righteous Alliance was extremely dangerous, and that he could be killed at any time. But after so many years, he had watched as the Righteous Alliance slowly deteriorated. Although the current Righteous Alliance was still not weak, it was far from its former self. If he really had to fight, he really did not need to fear the Righteous Alliance. This was a massive gamble. If he lost, he might die. At the very least, he would be stripped of his position as crown prince. If he won, not only would he have the absolute advantage in the election, he would also be able to win over many people. Those without courage would not dare to make such a gamble. But Feng Yinshan had no path of retreat. He had to do this, and he could only do this. Feng Yinshan, it seems to me that you don't want your position as crown prince anymore. Madame Jia coldly said to Feng Yinshan, if I can uphold justice, root out traitors, and clear the name of a hero, what is there to cherish about the position of crown prince? Moreover, whether or not I am the crown prince is not up to you, Madame Jia, to decide. You can only represent your Jia clan. The Righteous Alliance is controlled by the three great clans. Feng Yinshan sharply countered. Haha, then let's wait and see. Madame Jia disdainfully sneered, and then she turned to Phoenix Cry Immeasurable and said, I want to kill Ling Xiao and take away Zun. Do you have any objections? I don't think that's a good idea, Madame Jia. You can take Zun away, but Ling Xiao is Divine Phoenix Empire's hero. He protected the borders. If we let you kill him just like that, what qualifications do we have to be the monarch? Phoenix Cry Immeasurable frowned. He had not expected that he would have to make a choice in the end. If I want to kill him, can you stop me? Madame Jia ignored Phoenix Cry Immeasurable and turned to Ling Xiao. Brat, hand over your life. I will definitely place your head on the graves of my husband and son. After saying this, she actually began to attack. Roar! Suddenly a roar shook the heavens. Countless soldiers had appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Feng Yinshan, Feng Qingyan, Feng Yanran, the Northern Desert Army, the Scorpion Men, and even the garrison of the imperial city. The dense crowd completely blocked Madame Jia's path. She could not advance even half a step. Are you trying to rebel? Madame Jia was so angry that her entire body trembled. Does the Righteous Alliance want to incur the wrath of the masses? Feng Yinshan coldly asked. At this moment, more and more people were hurrying over. They had come here with only one goal in mind: to protect the hero of this country, to protect the bottom line of this country. If a country could not even protect its own hero, who would be willing to shed their blood for this country? Damn it! Since you want to be buried with him, then I'll kill all of you. Madame Jia was completely enraged. She was a disciple of the everlasting joy immortal island, a lofty existence. Yet these ants of the divine Phoenix Empire dared to openly challenge her. How could she tolerate this? Terrifying energy began to gather. Madame Jia was about to go crazy. Although her cultivation was only at the Grotto Heaven realm, she did not believe that anyone would dare to stop her if she really attacked. Clap! Suddenly, a crisp slap to the face shocked everyone. This slap had come from Jining. After such a long stalemate, Jining's shackles had long ago been broken. You dare hit me? Madame Jia was stunned. Madame Jia, you seem to have forgotten that I, Jining, am also a member of the Righteous Alliance and an elder of the Righteous Alliance. Your husband and son committed heinous crimes, and not even death can wipe out their crimes. What are you trying to do today? Do you want the Righteous Alliance to become the public enemy? What is that old man doing? What is he doing as the Alliance Lord? Many people seem to have forgotten that Jining was not only a Yinyang realm martial artist, but also an elder of the Righteous Alliance. But Jining's slap and his words had suddenly made them all remember. Ha ha ha! Elder, there's no need to be angry. This old man failed to discipline her properly. I will bring her back. An elderly voice came from the crowd. Chapter 1111. As it turned out, the Righteous Alliance Lord had arrived long ago, but he had been hiding in the crowd. Naturally, he had his own reasons for allowing Madame Jia to cause trouble. He was the head of the Jia clan and the current Righteous Alliance Lord. He had to rely on the support of the Eternal Joy Immortal Island. He naturally wouldn't stop Madame Jia from doing anything. Moreover, Jia Lin and Jia Yin were members of the Righteous Alliance and his family. Since they were killed by Ling Xiao, he naturally hoped that Ling Xiao would be killed as well. But now he had no choice but to appear. He understood Jining's temper. If he angered Jining, he would really dare to kill Madame Jia. Smiling, he led Madame Jia away. Along the way, Madame Jia asked in grief and indignation, "Alliance Lord, don't you want revenge?" "Revenge is necessary. That Ling Xiao will definitely die, but he can't be killed today." Madame Jia shook her head. "Why? Alliance Lord, you should be stronger than that Jining, right? It's not because of Jining. Then it's because of those tens of millions of ants? That's not it either. Then why?" Madame Jia didn't understand. "Haven't you noticed? There's a woman standing next to Ling Xiao. That woman is the Moon Maiden of the Tianlong continent. She's probably not much weaker than this old man. If we fight, both sides will be heavily injured. In the end, that old fox Fengming Wuliang will be the one to benefit." Madame Jia sneered. "Don't worry. Ling Xiao must die. This old man can guarantee you. All right, I'll leave everything to the Alliance Lord." Madame Jia sucked in a cold breath. If that Moon Maiden was really as powerful as Madame Jia said, then she had just walked through the gates of hell. Madame Jia left. Sikong Zun sank into despair once more. It seemed like he could only fight with his life on the line. Otherwise, no one would be able to save him today. Fengming Wuliang glanced at Sikong Zun and sighed helplessly. Then he walked up to the high platform and said loudly, "My people, I'm heartbroken right now. Our good General Jining was almost unjustly killed. LV Chenglong was killed by a traitor while protecting Jining." Speaking up to here, he glanced at Ji Zhongran, who was already on the verge of death and whose flesh had almost been completely torn apart by him, and his heart actually felt a little apprehensive. The scorpion man's venom was too terrifying. Ji Zhongran being alive right now was worse than being dead. Everyone looked at him, wanting to hear what he had to say. "Since the misunderstanding has been resolved, I must apologize to General Jining and the deceased General LV Chenglong. I was deceived by a scoundrel and made a wrong judgment. I am guilty." Speaking up to here, he actually burst into tears. That appearance was simply as if his father had died. Many soldiers and commoners were moved by him, crying and crying. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a bit of disgust. This Fengming Wuliang was probably the culprit behind Jining's wrongful accusation. Unfortunately, he had no evidence. Without evidence, Ling Xiao couldn't touch him, because Ling Xiao didn't want to kill the wrong person. But Sikong Zun had to die today. No matter what decision Fengming Wuliang made in the end, he had already made up his mind. Great General has worked hard and performed a great service. Today, I would like to announce in public that Jining has been conferred the title of Imperial Tutor, king equal to the prince. Last time, he had 100 hectares of fertile land, a house, gold and spirit stones. From now on, he can enjoy life in the imperial city. Evil. This Fengming Wuliang was a clear promotion to Jining. Although the title of imperial tutor and king equal to the prince sounded much more impressive than the great general, and in fact his status was indeed high. But this was an empty position. Under normal circumstances, he didn't have the power to command the army. Ling Xiao inwardly sneered. So be it. Jining was too loyal and righteous. With military power in his hands, he would become the target of others. Without military power, he would naturally be less of a threat to many people, and he wouldn't become a tiger in the way of others. Before Fengming Wuliang could finish speaking, L.V. Chenglong's loyalty and bravery were unparalleled. This time his tragic death was truly unjust. He will be conferred the title of Count Zhongyi, and his descendants will inherit this title. For L.V. Chenglong, this conferment didn't have much meaning. After all, L.V. Chenglong was already dead. Moreover, he didn't marry or have children, let alone inherit the title. This person had truly dedicated his youth to this country, but his death was too unjust. Rumor had it that as long as one crossed the gate of heaven's chosen, one could obtain a godhood. This godhood could confer the title of god to anyone who died. Although this kind of godhood was generally relatively low and far less powerful than cultivating to become a god, it was still an opportunity. The gods of the mystic world were said to live in a place that mortals couldn't see. They controlled the natural changes of the mystic world, as well as birth, old age, sickness, and death. But this was only a legend after all. It was said that there were only a few people who had obtained godhood in the past 100,000 years, and none of them could be confirmed, because these people basically used the godhood for themselves after obtaining it and wouldn't give it to others. But even so, this was still an opportunity. In a situation where the dead couldn't be resurrected, Ling Xiao could only think of this method. I hope it's not a dream. General Jining, do you think this is a good way to deal with it? After Fengming Wuliang announced his decision, he looked at Jining and asked, "The emperor's method of ascending and descending is really chilling. Could it be that I, Jining, was willing to resign myself to death and follow Jiaolin to the imperial city, and you still doubt me?" Jining didn't give Fengming Wuliang any face. He criticized Fengming Wuliang's imperial edict as worthless, letting everyone see the emperor's ruthlessness and shamelessness. Fengming Wuliang was both angry and regretful in his heart. He never thought that Jining would be like this. According to Jining's temper in the past, he shouldn't have done such a thing. He must have been influenced by Ling Xiao. However, Fengming Wuliang didn't know that people would always change. Jining had suffered a great change. His best brother was killed in front of him, and he was so loyal to the emperor and his country. But he was going to be demoted and directly turned into a mere figurehead. He had long been bitterly disappointed. Since he was already bitterly disappointed, there was no need to give this emperor any more face. What should be said was what should be said. "General, I'm afraid you've misunderstood." "Alas, in that case, what do you want, General?" Fengming Wuliang suppressed his anger and asked, "It doesn't matter if I reward you or not. Ah Long doesn't need your reward. I just hope that the emperor can kill the traitor and give us justice. That's enough." Jining said faintly. He didn't want to continue serving this emperor. It was really boring. If it weren't for the hundreds of thousands of people in the northern desert who were willing to follow him. He even wanted to simply retire and cultivate his own martial arts. That way, he would live a more carefree life. But now he couldn't resign. He wanted to be the general of the northern desert people, his own general. Chapter 11:12. Demand justice. Demand justice. Demand justice. The soldiers of the Northern Desert Army were also shouting loudly. They had seen their general being tortured like that. If they did not see their enemy die on the spot, they would not let this matter rest. Could it be that at this time your Majesty still wants to let Sikongzun go? Could it be that your Majesty is afraid of the true demon's empire, so you don't dare to use torture on him? Ling Xiao coldly stared at Feng Ming Wuliang. Since the other party was so shameless, he would just use the last move. In the eyes of the Moon Maiden, this imperial city was not even worth mentioning. If it was destroyed, then so be it. But if he did that, it might cause many casualties and many innocent people might die. This was also the reason why Ling Xiao had been unable to make up his mind. If Feng Ming Wuliang was willing to execute Sikongzun, then everything would naturally be much simpler. Your Majesty, please execute Sikongzun. Give the heroes justice. It was clear and bright, and the sound was like thunder. The massive cry for mercy once more resounded over the imperial city. Feng Ming Wuliang had originally thought that with the Jia clan's interlude, many people would forget about this matter, but he was wrong. Who would forget something like this? Who would dare to forget? Forgetting meant that there might come a day when he himself would become a sacrifice. Feng Ming Wuliang suddenly rubbed his head and sighed. Yinshan, we suddenly feel unwell. I will leave the rest of the matter to you. You must handle it well and not incite a revolt. Since he could not make a decision, Feng Ming Wuliang simply feigned illness and left, leaving this mess to Feng Yinshan. Of course, to a cowardly and hesitant person, this was a mess. But to Feng Yinshan, this was an excellent opportunity. By executing Sikongzun, he could firmly grasp the will of the people and have Ling Xiao owe him a favor. This would make it easier to use in the future. Of course, he was keenly aware that this was very dangerous. If things went wrong, he might even provoke the state teacher to deal with him. But in truth, he had no other choice. He had two competitors. The first was the current emperor. Sitting firmly on the throne made it very convenient for him to do anything, and he had an extremely good relationship with the immortal island of perpetual joy and the righteous alliance. The other was the crown prince, Feng Ming Qishan. This person had a great reputation in the army. Basically, other than the Northern Desert Army and the Imperial City Army, he had trusted aides in all the other armies. Moreover, those soldiers were also willing to listen to him, because he was brave and good at fighting. Feng Yinshan was at an absolute disadvantage. Only by gambling could he obtain some capital. For example, as long as he killed Sikongzun, his reputation in the imperial court would definitely soar. The Northern Desert Army would be grateful to him, and the people of the imperial city would remember him. More importantly, Ling Xiao would miss him. In this way, he would have the capital to compete with the other two. Feng Ming Wuliang left and gave him full authority to handle this matter. He didn't want to offend Sikongzun and the imperial preceptor, and he didn't want to offend the true Devil Empire. As for him, he had to seize this opportunity. Everyone heard it just now. The emperor has given full authority to this king to handle today's matter. Now, this king announces that Ji Ning and the others will be restored to their positions, and Ji Ning will be conferred the title of king of the northern region. He will rule over the northern desert and build a giant shield for the divine Phoenix Empire in the northern region. The Black Crow Empire will have no chance to take advantage of this. Feng Yinshan's understanding of full authority naturally included rewards and punishments. If Feng Ming Wuliang didn't admit it, it would be useless. If he said it in front of so many people, unless Feng Ming Wuliang didn't want to be the emperor anymore, it wouldn't be a problem to reward him as long as it wasn't excessive. And Feng Yinshan had grasped the situation very well. Crown Prince Xie Yinshan. Ji Ning naturally knew that Feng Yinshan was helping him, so he also gave Feng Yinshan face. In addition, it has been confirmed that Ling Xiao has made outstanding achievements in the battle against the Black Crow Empire. Not only did he turn the situation around and resist the invasion of the army, he even killed Timur Mutu and captured Tomohiko Kuma alive. Such achievements are earth-shattering. This king has specially promoted him to the position of Northern Desert City's military governor to assist General Ji Ning. In addition, he will be conferred the title of Dragon King of the Heavens, and the east of the Eastern County will be his territory. The Eastern County was a small city close to the Eastern Sea. It was even smaller than the Northern Desert City and much smaller, with a population of only a few tens of thousands. But anyone with a discerning eye knew that Feng Yinshan's words had hidden meaning. What did he mean by east of the Eastern County? What was Dragon King of the Heavens? East of the Eastern County, wasn't it referring to the heavenly dragon continent? And wasn't Dragon King of the Heavens also referring to the heavenly dragon continent? In truth, Feng Yinshan was fulfilling his promise. By bestowing the Eastern County to Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao could begin his great undertaking of destroying the true demon empire. And on this point, the divine Phoenix Empire would not stop them either. Although there was a verbal agreement, there were many cases of the true demon empire soldiers pretending to be pirates and attacking the divine Phoenix Empire's coastline. Everyone couldn't help but be surprised by this. One had to realize that the highest governing body in the divine Phoenix Empire was the Righteous Alliance, and below that was the imperial household. Generally speaking, only members of the imperial household had the right to be conferred the title of king. And today, Jining and Ling Xiao had both been conferred the title of king by Feng Yinshan. This had a very special meaning. Many kings with different surnames were just empty titles with no real meaning. But Jining and Ling Xiao were different. Both of them were kings with different surnames who had their own territories. This was very special. To the east of the Eastern County was Ling Xiao's territory. In this area, Ling Xiao wielded absolute power over life and death. He could deal with anyone he wanted without even reporting to the imperial court. This was the privilege of a king. Feng Yinshan dared to do this because he was thinking about his own future. He knew that Ling Xiao was an ambitious man, but he also knew that Ling Xiao disdained the divine Phoenix Empire. Thus, Ling Xiao did not directly compete with him. This was a man with true foresight. He was not like those short-sighted people who believed that Ling Xiao would steal their power and status. That was truly foolish to the extreme. It should be said that Feng Yinshan was expressing his goodwill to Ling Xiao. He couldn't even say that he was trying to win him over. With Feng Yinshan's insight, he could naturally see that Ling Xiao was no ordinary person. If he wanted to make such a person his subordinate, he would definitely suffer a loss. It was better to get along and become allies. Many thanks, Crown Prince Yinshan. Ling Xiao indifferently said. In truth, it didn't matter if Feng Yinshan conferred the title on him or not. After this incident, both Jining and the Northern Desert Army were willing to listen to him. In reality, these people had already become his private soldiers. Feng Yinshan's actions were just adding fuel to the fire. Of course, he still appreciated Feng Yinshan's good intentions. If others respected him, he would naturally respect them tenfold. This was his personality. Moreover, he knew very well that he could do what he did today, not because he was strong, but because he had the Moon Maiden by his side. This was not his ability. It was because of the Moon Maiden. He could not be too cocky. He was not strong enough. No matter how strong the people by his side were, they could not protect him in every way. Only when he was strong could he be truly strong. Only then could he truly control his own destiny. Chapter 11:13. The East Commandery was a good place to recuperate. There were many pirates running amok there. To others, it might be a dangerous place, but to him, it was the best place to train his troops. No need to thank me. You exchanged your merits for this. I didn't give it to you. Feng Yinshan's words were beautiful. In fact, everyone knew that if there was no one in the court, it would be useless even if one had great merits. Take Jining, for example. He had already made outstanding military achievements, but he was sent to a desolate place like the northern desert. This time he had almost lost his life. After the reward, the next step was naturally the punishment. Feng Yinshan looked indifferently at Sikongzun and said, "Sikongzun, do you know your crimes?" "Humph, This commander is magnanimous. What crimes have I committed? Sikong Zun snorted coldly. The facts are all there. Yet you still dare to be stubborn. Forget it. It seems that this prince doesn't need to ask any more questions. Men, tie up Sikong Zun and execute him on the spot. Fong Yinshan hoped to cut the Gordian knot. No matter what method was used, as long as Sikong Zun was killed, the entire world would be at peace. Let's see who dares to touch me. Sikong Zun stood there, his entire body flickering with electricity. He looked like a god of thunder, and no one dared to approach him. This was strength. When you had absolute strength, even if you really did commit a crime, no one could execute you. Sikong Zun had no intention of quibbling now. In fact, from the moment Fong Ming Wuliang left, he knew that there was no need for him to defend himself. Even if he did, it would be useless. He believed that Fong Ming Wuliang wouldn't just watch him die. Someone would come to save him. As long as there was someone who was as strong as him, he could escape. Even Ling Zhao's moon maiden wouldn't be able to stop him. Your Highness, may this humble subject personally kill Sikong Zun? Ji Ning stepped forward. He wanted to avenge his good brother, LV Chenglong. He wanted to kill Sikong Zun with his own hands. Besides, there weren't many people here who could kill Sikong Zun. Other than a moon maiden, it was probably him. If he didn't make a move, who else would? Permission granted. Fong Yinshan said resolutely. Thank you. Ji Ning took a deep breath. Light rain began to fall from the sky, as if it was shedding tears for the dead LV Chenglong. Brother, big brother will avenge you. Ji Ning lunged at Sikong Zun with his gun and began to fight without saying a word. The rain grew heavier, but no one in the square moved. They were all silently watching the battle. Ji Ning was originally slightly stronger than Sikong Zun, but because of his injury, he was not as good as Sikong Zun. In just a few short exchanges, he was already at a disadvantage. Even so, Ji Ning still refused to give up. Suddenly, the Tai Chi pupil appeared in Ling Zhao's left eye. His powerful soul power enveloped the entire platform. Ling Zhao blurted out a battle song. Arrogance, proud laughter, 10,000 waves. Hot blood, heat, red sunlight. Courage like iron, bones like steel. Breadth of mind, vision of 10,000 miles. Vow to strive for self-improvement. Be a man. Be a man. Be self-improvement every day. Hot blood. Heat surpasses red sunlight. Let the sea and sky gather energy for me. To create a new world. To fight for my ideals. Look at the blue waves, tall and strong. Look at the blue sky, vast and noble. Since I'm a man, I must strive for self-improvement. Walk with your chest puffed out. Let's be pillars. Be a man. Use my 100 points of heat. Shine with 1,000 points of light. Be a man. Hot blood and intestines. Heat surpasses red sunlight. In the battle song, Ji Ning's body glowed with red light, and his fighting spirit surged like a torrential river. He actually reversed the situation and took the initiative. Step by step, he forced Sikong Zun to retreat. Ji Ning's eyes were filled with tears. The battle song began to resound throughout the imperial city. What's going on? Sikong Zun couldn't understand where the sudden burst of power in Ji Ning's body came from. It was simply terrifying. It was as if it had suddenly erupted. He turned to look at Ling Zhao, only to find that the boy was still singing the battle song. Yes, it's him. Sikong Zun's heart sank completely. Ling Zhao. Ling Zhao again. This Ling Zhao was obviously not as strong as him, but he was like a nightmare to him. He always appeared at the most critical moment and sabotaged his plans. If Ling Zhao hadn't come, he could have smoothly executed Ji Ning and the others and taken the initiative. If it hadn't been for Ling Zhao, the blood mirror wouldn't have appeared here. Tomohiko Kuma's memories wouldn't have been released, and he wouldn't have been in such a passive position. What made him even more unhappy was that not only had Ji Ning been reinstated, but he had also become the Northern Region King. Ling Zhao was only a 16-year-old boy, but he had also become the Dragon King of Heaven and obtained his own territory. And now he was being suppressed by the injured Jining. All of this actually originated from this 16-year-old boy. This guy was simply a monster that was more terrifying than a demon. If he had the chance in the future, he would definitely not play any tricks. If he encountered Ling Xiao, he would kill him directly. Damn it! Sikong Zun was stabbed in the body by Jining's spear. He was then sent flying and crashed heavily on the ground. His eyes were somewhat dazed at that moment. Jining's attack was really not light. Sikong Zun was severely injured on the spot. But it wasn't enough. Sikong Zun wouldn't die just like that. Jining raised his spear and attacked again. He knew that today was the best opportunity to kill Sikong Zun. If he missed today, he might not find such a good opportunity in the future. However, at this moment, a gust of wind came from the sky and blocked Jining's path. Look over there. In the sky, 5 people came at once. These 5 people all had their faces covered. It was obvious that they didn't want to expose their identities. Those who could stop Jining in one strike were at least at the Yin-Yang realm. Through the Taiji eye, Ling Xiao had already seen the identities of the people who came. Who dares to rob the execution ground? The thing that Feng Yinshan was most worried about had happened. 5 experts had suddenly appeared in the imperial city. Could it be that Sikong Zun really couldn't be killed? Feng Yinshan, do you want Sikong Zun to die, or do you want us to destroy the imperial city? The person who spoke was the stranger. From his tone, he was definitely the kind of person who could do whatever he wanted. Destroy the imperial city. Feng Yinshan was stunned. He could tell that the other party wasn't joking. These people actually wanted to destroy the imperial city of the Divine Phoenix Empire for Sikong Zun. Sikong Zun, this fellow's life was really good. He must die. Jining wanted to avenge his brother, so he didn't care about the other party's threats. You're courting death. One of the masked men stopped Jining. Ling Xiao recognized him. He was Phoenix Cry to High, the commander of the Mirror Bureau and the Emperor's most trusted person. It seemed that this imperial family was really complicated. General, you must kill Sikong Zun and avenge LV Chenglong. I will stop him. Feng Qingyan made a move. He stopped the masked Phoenix Cry to High. His strength was not weaker than Phoenix Cry to High's. Chapter 1114. It seems that you really don't care if I destroy the imperial city. The stranger's face was gloomy, and he began to gather power in his hands. If you want to destroy the imperial city, you'll have to get through me first. The dean of Qingshu College, Feng Yinshan's master, had also appeared in the square. His strength was unfathomable, but he was also in the Yin-Yang realm. He should be weaker than the Moon Maiden, but he should be evenly matched with the stranger. I'll be your opponent. The masked master of state confronted the dean of Qingshu College. The masked Fengming, Wanchong, stopped Jining. Sikong Zun took this opportunity to get up from the ground and was ready to escape. Xieli, stop him. If necessary, kill him. Ling Xiao ordered. Today, he could not let Sikong Zun escape, no matter what. Otherwise, the tens of thousands of soldiers would have died in vain. You're the new king of the Scorpion tribe, right? You'd better not get involved in this matter. The masked master of state appeared in front of Xieli. He wanted to let Sikong Zun go. I'll help you kill Sikong Zun. The Moon Maiden suddenly said, No, Sikong Zun has been seriously injured by General Jining. I'll take his life myself. Sister Moon Maiden, help me keep an eye on the guy in the sky. He's very dangerous. Don't let him destroy the imperial city. I still have many friends here. After finishing his words, Ling Xiao suddenly disappeared. Okay. The Moon Maiden sighed. She knew that Ling Xiao hated Sikong Zun to the core. Only by killing Sikong Zun with his own hands could he vent his hatred. Therefore, it was meaningless to stop Ling Xiao. It was better to let Ling Xiao kill Sikong Zun. Sikong Zun, you're the lightning devil. How dare you run away? If I don't kill you today, I, Ling Xiao, am not human. As the cold voice sounded, Ling Xiao's sword had already pierced Sikong Zun's throat. Bastard, how dare you kill him? In the sky, the master of state, the Yin Yang Demon King of the true Demon's Empire, suddenly roared, "Yin Yang Wheel, resurrect!" The Yin Yang Wheel was terrifying because it could bring a person back to life as long as he was still breathing. Ling Xiao's sword pierced Sikong Zun's throat. If it was an ordinary warrior, they would have already died. However, Electric Demon King Sikong Zun was not an ordinary person. He was still holding on to his last breath. He was saved by the Yin Yang Wheel. Kill! Ling Xiao sneered as he waved the golden crow sword in his hand again. Sikong Zun, who had just revived, had his entire head chopped off. Bastard, I'll kill you! Although the 9 demon kings of the true Demon's Empire were cruel to outsiders, they had a very good relationship with each other. Therefore, the Yin Yang Demon King couldn't just watch as Ling Xiao cut Sikong Zun into pieces. If that happened, there would be no chance of him being resurrected. Although there were many rumors of martial arts that could allow one to be reborn from a drop of blood, they were all just rumors. None of them were true. Maybe there was a deviation in the martial arts, or maybe there was a problem with the inheritance. In short, it was possible to regenerate a severed limb, but it was impossible to regenerate from a drop of blood unless there was a secret treasure. Ling Xiao once had such a martial art, but it was later proven that regenerating from a drop of blood was unrealistic. Unless there was a large number of secret treasures, one would still die. The Yin Yang Demon King's Yin Yang Wheel was the same. If he wanted to regenerate from a drop of blood, he could only regenerate a severed limb at most. Once he was dead, it was useless. Yin Yang Demon King, your opponent is me. The dean of Qingshu College blocked the Yin Yang Demon King. His white beard danced in the wind, and the wind from his palm was swift and fierce. He completely blocked the Yin Yang Demon King. Get out of my way! The Yin Yang Demon King roared. He no longer hid his identity. His body became incomparably huge, like a huge skeleton. Boom! There was a loud bang between heaven and earth. Unfortunately, the dean of Qingshu College wasn't someone to be trifled with. He took the blow head-on. Yin Yang Demon King, don't you want to resurrect him? I can help you. Ling Xiao sneered. His Tai Chi eye turned. Holy King, the special ability of soul adjudication, Holy King. Not only did it give the battle song a special incentive effect, it also had the same effect as the Yin Yang Wheel. At this moment, Ling Xiao was covered in white light. It was as if the Holy King had descended. White light shot out from his Tai Chi eye. The Sikong Zun came back to life. Although it was alive, the Sikong Zun had long lost the ability to resist. Ling Xiao slowly made a cut on its body. Didn't you want General Jining to be dismembered? Today, I'll let you have a taste of that. Ling Xiao's face revealed a ferocious expression. Now he was willing to turn into a malicious spirit and avenge the dead. He wasn't afraid of the Yin Yang Demon King. With the dean of Qingshu College's strength, he would have no problem blocking the Yin Yang Demon King. He wanted to teach those who had betrayed him, Jining and the others, a lesson, an unforgettable memory. He wanted the Yin Yang Demon King to remember this pain forever and live in sorrow every day. This kind of sorrow couldn't be borne by Jining and the Northern Desert Army alone. The Yin Yang Demon King, the mastermind behind this, had to bear the consequences. Otherwise, there would be no justice in this world. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? When you caused the deaths of tens of millions of people in the sacred city, did you ever think that you would end up like this? At that time, you were in control of everything. You thought that others were ants. Perhaps you thought that it was your masterpiece. You didn't feel any pain. You only felt endless pleasure. When you watched those tens of thousands of soldiers being killed, Did you ever think that you would end up like this? At that time, all you thought about was your own achievements and your perfect plan. You treated those people's lives as child's play. You didn't care at all. You didn't even bat an eyelid when you tortured Ji Ning, LV Chenglong, and the others in prison. Did you ever think that you would end up like this? At that time, you only laughed crazily and proudly. When you heard their miserable cries, you were even very excited. Back then, when you wanted all the people in the city to execute Ji Ning and the others, did you ever think that one day you would also be executed? At that time, all you thought about was using the most extreme methods to torture your enemies and make them die in incomparable pain. With every sentence Ling Xiao spoke, he cut off a piece of flesh from Sikong Zun's body, or his ears, or his nose, or his eyes. Yes, he was cruel, but these were the methods that Sikong Zun used to deal with others. He was just giving him a taste of his own medicine. Bastard! The Yin Yang Demon King was so angry that his entire body trembled. Blood even seeped out of the corners of his mouth. It wasn't because he was beaten. He was so angry that he was like this. Ah! Ling Xiao, I'm going to bury you and everyone here with him. In his rage, the Yin Yang Demon King actually took a hit from the dean of Qingshu College. Then, ignoring the pain, he pounced on Ling Xiao. Chapter 11:15. Yin Yang Demon King. Do you know the helplessness you feel when you watch your brother die? I'll show you now. Seeing the Yin Yang Demon King pounce over, Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold smile. The golden crow sword in his hand trembled, turning into several rays of sword light that sliced Sikong Zun into pieces. Ah, Zun! The Yin Yang Demon King's eyes were actually bleeding. Dark red blood flowed from his eyes. No one knew that he and Sikong Zun were actually blood-related brothers. Back then, the two of them had followed the true demon emperor into the mystic world and had grown up together. Their relationship was definitely not inferior to Ji Ning's and LV Chenglong's. But today, Ling Xiao had killed Sikong Zun in front of the Yin Yang Demon King. He didn't even leave the corpse intact. The scattered pieces of the body floated in the air and actually burned, finally turning into ashes. No, the Yin Yang Demon King knelt there, as if everything was meaningless. So what if the true demon empire rose? His brother was dead, killed by an insignificant person. He hated it. Are you in pain? Are you angry? That's right. Now you should understand the pain General Ji Ning felt when LV Chenglong was killed. Do you understand the pain we all felt? Ling Xiao had long since left the place where he killed Sikong Zun. His cold voice reverberated in the air. Ling Xiao, you evil creature! The Yin Yang Demon King glared at Ling Xiao. You don't need to be so loud. I know you want to cut me into pieces and kill me in the cruelest way in the world. Because I understand this kind of hatred too well. Back in Northern Desert City, when I saw so many people killed by Sikong Zun, I felt the same way now. Ling Xiao looked at the Yin Yang Demon King calmly and said, Also, when I was in the Holy City, I looked at the scorched earth of the Holy City, looked at the corpses all over the ground, and looked at the babies you killed when they were still in their swaddling clothes. More than once, I wanted to tear you to pieces. Today, I killed Sikong Zun, and in the next moment, it'll be you. You won't have that chance. I want you to die now. I want all of you to die. The Yin Yang Demon King had completely lost his mind. There was a limit to a person's tolerance. The moment he saw his own brother being torn into pieces, he had already broken through his tolerance limit. He lost all reason. With hatred and anger, he rushed towards Ling Xiao, wanting to kill him on the spot. Unfortunately, the Moon Maiden made a move. The Yin Yang Demon King's strength was impressive, but he was still slightly inferior to the Moon Maiden. The Moon Maiden coldly swung her palm, sending the furious Yin Yang Demon King flying. We've lost. Sikong Zun is already dead. This battle is meaningless. Let's retreat. The Yin-Yang Demon King's king was Zunen, the demon, great the ocean's Feng's emperor Cry, CC Feng. Esyang's Cress, a mysterious person who wanted to destroy the imperial city side. He retracted his energy and said, "Let's go, Yin-Yang Demon King. We've already missed our last chance." He shook his head and glanced at the Moon Maiden. Perhaps the Moon Maiden had something to do with the Moon Maiden. Despicable. Ling Xiao, just you wait. I won't let you off. I definitely won't. The Yin-Yang Demon King roared and soared into the sky. If he stayed here alone, he might even lose his life in the end. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Ling Xiao. This dazzling new star was rapidly rising. Everyone felt fear and respect. Before this, everyone knew that he came from the Heavenly Dragon Continent. He was the Heavenly Dragon Continent's chosen one, but not many people took him seriously. But now, everyone knew he was extremely intelligent. At the critical moment, he turned the situation around and destroyed 2 million soldiers of the Black Crow Empire. He chased the enemy for thousands of miles and captured the Black Crow Empire's little duke, Tomohiko Kuma. He killed the Black Crow Empire's Grand Preceptor, Timur Mutu. He led his troops to eliminate Jia Lin, Jia Yin, and the Phoenix Cry army. He broke into the imperial city and saved the empire's meritorious officials. He was conferred the title of king and minister. He ruled the East County and became a duke. He personally tore the Lightning Demon King, Sikong Zun, into pieces in front of the Yin-Yang Demon King. His fame was intertwined with blood, slaughter, cruelty, loyalty, and many other emotions. It formed an unimaginable legend. From today onwards, if there was anyone in the Divine Phoenix Empire who did not know of Ling Xiao's fame, then he must be an ignorant person. Crown Prince Yinshan, can you allow me to send the great general off? It was definitely not a good idea for the Northern Desert Army to stay in the imperial city for a long time, so they had to leave. Of course. Feng Yinshan nodded. Ling Xiao's performance, as he expected, became more and more exciting and unstoppable. If this person did not die, then in the future, he would definitely become an unparalleled giant in the true sense. The Heavenly Dragon Continent's chosen son was definitely not an empty title. It meant that the sacred dynasty had chosen him. It meant that the human king had chosen him. If he was an incompetent person, then it would be impossible. A path was opened, leading directly to the imperial city's gate. Ling Xiao and Ji Ning rode side by side on demon wolves and left the imperial city. At this time, Ji Ning's legs had already recovered. For experts of this realm, physical disabilities were not much of a problem. As long as their internal energy recovered, they could be healed. Ling Xiao, I have an idea, Ji Ning suddenly said. Great General, please speak. Ling Xiao nodded. The northern desert city has been destroyed, and I have no interest in helping an unrighteous emperor guard the northern region. Take these people under me with you to the East County and create a world that belongs to you. Ji Ning said with emotion, I only hope that you can let the hundreds of thousands of people join the East County and live there. The Crown Prince of the Hidden Mountain has just appointed you as the king of the northern region. Will there be any problems if you leave your post without permission? Ling Xiao said with a frown. Don't worry, there won't be any problems. The Emperor can't wait for me to leave. You won't object to me going to the East County to be your butler, right? Ji Ning suddenly laughed. Just as Ji Ning said, in fact, after this matter, although Ji Ning still had the title of king of the northern region, the defense of the northern region had been taken over by the crown prince of the Ice Phoenix clan, Feng Mingqishan. He was also a fierce general on the battlefield, and he was very powerful. He had countless elite soldiers guarding the northern region. He was much stronger than trash, like Jialin. After careful consideration, Ling Xiao finally agreed to Ji Ning's request, because he might not stay in the East County for a long time. If Ji Ning was there, he would definitely be a very good helper. Ha ha ha, in that case, I'll send someone to send my resignation letter now. From now on, I'll be working under you." Ji Ning looked at Sikong Zun's tragic death and felt a little better. After all, he had avenged his good brother, LV Chenglong. With the help of the great general, the East County will definitely develop quickly. Xia Li, you should also go to the East County and settle down your scorpion men there. In my city, racial discrimination is not allowed. No matter if you are a scorpion man or a human, you must be treated equally. Ling Xiao had a great ambition, which was to recreate the sacred dynasty under the rule of the human king. At that time, the sacred dynasty would be the real sacred dynasty. All races would be harmonious, and there would be no distinction between each other. It would not be like the current situation where they schemed against each other and despised each other. I understand. Xia Li was the new Scorpion King. Of course, she also hoped that the Scorpion men could have a stable place to live. The East County was undoubtedly such a place. Chapter 1116. Fiery Phoenix, Tribes, Crown Prince Palace. Today, the solemn hall was filled with warmth and friendliness. The three of them sat in the hall and chatted happily. One of them had a phoenix embroidered on his robe and looked noble. Only the descendants of the divine Phoenix Empire's royal family were qualified to wear this robe. He was naturally the crown prince, Feng Yinshan. Sitting on his left was an old man with a white beard. He had a sage-like demeanor and was the dean of Qingshu College, Zhou Yin. The one on his right was wearing a green robe. He was young, but his aura was not inferior to the other two. It was as if he had a domineering aura that controlled heaven and earth. No one dared to underestimate him. Of course, he was Ling Xiao. Before Ji Ning and the others went to the East County, they had to go to the northern desert to meet up with the soldiers and civilians in the desert. Only then could they go to the East County. For the safety of these people, Ling Xiao sent Xia Li as well. With 2 Yin-Yang realm experts escorting them, it was unlikely that anything major would happen. After he returned to the city, he received an invitation from the crown prince, Feng Yinshan. He naturally had a good impression of Feng Yinshan, so he had to give him face. The Northern Region King gave up Northern Desert City and wanted to go to the East County with you. I shouldn't have stopped him, but this way, Phoenix Cry Chishan can smoothly enter the Northern Desert. There's almost no place in the divine Phoenix Empire that he can't reach. Feng Yinshan was actually a little dissatisfied with Ji Ning's actions, but he couldn't scold him, so he could only vaguely express his worries. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "I'm afraid that the crown prince won't get a delicious cake but a hot potato." "Why?" Feng Yinshan asked. "Your Highness, don't forget that Northern Desert City is facing the powerful Black Crow Empire. Now that I've killed Timur Mudu and captured Tomohiko Kuma, the Black Crow Empire won't sit idly by. Once they attack, Northern Desert City will bear the brunt. General Ji Ning's troops won't be able to stop them. Let the Crown Prince deal with this matter." Ling Xiao explained. "Even though that's the case, Ling Xiao, you might not know this, but ever since Feng Ming led his troops in Qishan, he has never lost a battle. He is even more legendary than Ji Ning. If he can block the army of the Black Crow Empire, he will obtain even greater prestige and public opinion." Feng Yinshan was still a little worried. Ling Xiao said, "Then let me help your Highness obtain an even greater merit." "A greater contribution?" Feng Yinshan was somewhat confused. "For example, destroying the True Devil Empire." Ling Xiao said indifferently, "The East County is harassed by the True Demon Empire's pirates all year round. We have a reason to send troops. Working with the Northern Han Army, it is not impossible to wipe out the True Demon Empire in one fell swoop. Don't forget that Sikong Zun is dead. The True Demon Empire only has one Yin-Yang Demon King, a Yin-Yang realm expert. That's right. This time, let's see who has contributed more." Feng Yinshan's eyes lit up. "Then this little king will have to trouble you. What's the point of begging? Isn't this the plan we came up with before? Besides, in order to protect the safety of the East County, I have to do this. There were some things that Ling Xiao would naturally not say, such as his plan to rebuild the sacred dynasty. Then, when are you going to the East County? If you need anything, just tell me. This little king will think of a way for you. Feng Yinshan said. Of course it's weapons and armor, as well as medicinal herbs and provisions. With these I have a way. As for the time, after great General Ji Ning arrives in the East County, we can start. As for the specific time, I will inform your highness when the time comes. Ling Xiao was not worried about the source of soldiers at all. One had to know that there were many people who escaped from the heavenly dragon continent to become pirates or were sold as slaves by the True Devil Empire. These were the sources of soldiers. Good. There should still be plenty of time, so there's no hurry. We must confirm that we have enough confidence before launching an attack. Otherwise, if we lose, all our previous efforts will be in vain. Feng Yinshan nodded. Of course. Before launching the general attack, I plan to return to the Heavenly Dragon Continent. The True Devil Empire is going to hold a heroes' assembly for the entire Heavenly Dragon Continent. I have to go and smash this place. Ling Xiao revealed a sinister smile. Hee, the True Devil Empire is really unlucky to have met you. Feng Yinshan could not help but smile bitterly. Your Highness, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first. I came back in a hurry this time, and there are still many things that I haven't dealt with yet. Since they had finished talking about business, Ling Xiao knew that Zhou Yun and Feng Yinshan had other things to discuss, so he found an excuse to leave. No problem. If you have anything to do, hurry up and do it. If you have any difficulties, feel free to ask. Thank you. Feng Yinshan and Zhou Yun personally sent Ling Xiao out of the palace. Looking at Ling Xiao's departing figure, Feng Yinshan's gentle gaze became sharp. Master, what do you think? Of course. Zhou Yun knew what Feng Yinshan was asking. He stroked his white beard and said, This Ling Xiao is very ambitious. In the future, he will most likely become a formidable opponent for your highness. But right now, he is a very good partner, and what he said just now is indeed very beneficial to your highness. I feel the same way. Feng Yinshan nodded and said, Ling Xiao relied on his extraordinary wisdom and courage to reverse the situation and destroy the 2 million troops of the Black Crow Empire. He also killed Timur Mutu and Feng Zhan and captured Tomohiko Kuma alive. Just this point alone is enough to surprise this king. What surprised this king the most was that he even killed Sikong Zun in the end. This can be considered as solving this king's urgent problem, but it also made this king even more shocked. I'm afraid that even the small divine Phoenix continent and the heavenly dragon continent won't be able to stop this child. There is no conflict of interest between him and me. Has your highness never thought of unifying the profound world? Zhou Yun asked with a smile. I really haven't. Feng Yinshan shook his head and said, This king knows his own limits. Of the 13 continents in the profound world, our divine Phoenix continent is the second weakest. With this bit of ability, wanting to unify the profound world is tantamount to a fool's dream. In fact, as long as we can surpass the 5 immortal islands and control the heavenly dragon, divine Phoenix, and white tiger continents, it will be enough. Your ambition is actually not small, Zhou Yun said with a smile. However, Ling Xiao's ambition is probably much greater than mine. Feng Yinshan shook his head and said, This matter, let's take it one step at a time. He is now my right-hand man and must not be offended. If we are not careful, we may become enemies. Master, you have seen this person's way of doing things. He will definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If anyone provokes him, he will definitely not swallow his anger. Although this king is not afraid of him now, once I provoke this person, it will not be good. Furthermore, in the competition for the position of emperor, this king is already at a disadvantage. It's good that your highness understands this point. Although Ling Xiao appears to be very cold at times, he is actually very simple. Whoever is good to him, he will be good to them. Whoever schemes against him, he will definitely return the favor tenfold, no, 100-fold. Zhou Yin was very gratified. Chapter 11:17. Let's not talk about him. I asked Master to come today to discuss the prospects of the election. Feng Yinshan brought the topic to the key issue. The current situation is that Your Highness's reputation is like the sun in the sky. Relying on this matter, you have made a good move. But this is far from enough. Zhou Yun shook his head and said, You should know that the army the Righteous Alliance controls can forcefully change the candidate for the emperor. Are you talking about that mysterious Lingyue army? That's right. Back then, Ji Fuling and Yu Xianyue created the Lingyue army to quell the war in the Divine Phoenix continent. At that time, the Lingyue army was extremely powerful. As long as they appeared, they were practically unstoppable. Zhou Yun nodded and said, Later on, when the two of them left, the Lingyue army was handed over to the Righteous Alliance and was renamed the Divine Guards of Justice. As for the name, it is a bit tacky, but its purpose is even clearer. It is an army that exists to protect justice. There is a saying among the people that the Divine Guards of Justice rule the world. Many people do not know that this is not a general term, but simply refers to the Divine Guards of Justice. Feng Yinshan nodded and said, The reason why the Righteous Alliance's authority in the Divine Phoenix Empire is higher than the imperial power is because of the existence of the Divine Guards of Justice. After returning to Qingshu College, Ling Xiao took care of some personal matters and seized the time to consolidate his cultivation. It took him 3 days to stabilize his cultivation at the early stage of the 9th heavenly layer. He packed up a little and set off for the East County. This time he only brought the Moon Maiden, Cold Plum, Hai Myung Ko, and the people from the Dark Thorn. The others, such as Lan Yu, and Dai Yuling, remained in the college to cultivate. The gap between them and Ling Xiao was getting bigger and bigger. They would not be able to help for the time being, so it was better to stay in the college to cultivate and absorb the gains from the battlefield. The time for this trip to the East County was not set. Of course, he would definitely return, but it was hard to say when. After all, Ling Xiao planned to wreak havoc in the eastern region of the world. At this time, Ling Xiao's deeds had already been spread to the East County by the wandering warriors. Everyone knew that their new city, Lord Tianlong King, was a young hero. The 2 battle songs he composed had already been widely circulated. His deeds on the battlefield and in the imperial city were also sung by storytellers and martial artists everywhere. The legendary story of Ling Xiao could be heard in the taverns, tea houses, and even on the streets. He was an enigmatic figure. Some people were looking forward to it. Naturally, there were also people who were disgusted. Although the East County did not have a large population because it was adjacent to the sea, pirates were rampant. Therefore, the people here were basically all warriors. However, their cultivation levels varied. Outside the East County city, there was a large river that led to the sea. A piece of land was naturally formed. This piece of land was called Turtle Island by the warriors of the East County. Turtle Island was not large, but what was interesting was that it was shaped like an enormous sea turtle. Most importantly, cultivating on Turtle Island was 4 to 5 times better than other places. Because of this place had almost become a place that martial artists would fight for. However, not everyone was qualified to go to such a good place. It was in the hands of the East County Marquis. This East County Marquis was not the master of the East County. He had only inherited his father's title. However, because of his large family and business, and because he was a relative of the imperial family, no one dared to not give him face in this land. The highest official in the East County was the governor. However, the successive governors either died for no reason or became the East County Marquis men. This made the East County Marquis power in the East County like the sun in the sky. He was almost a local tyrant. There were even rumors that the East County Marquis had said, eating, drinking, and playing in the East County, "I won't do it, even if you give me an imperial official." What was an imperial official? It was an official in the imperial city. This was better than the local officials, but he would not do it. He was not stupid. In the East County, he was the emperor. In the imperial city, someone like him was nothing. At this moment, at the entrance of Turtle Island, many warriors were waiting to go through the procedures to enter the island. If you wanted to enter Turtle Island, you either had the special waste token given by the East County Marquis, or you had to pay a sufficient price. It could be spirit stones. It could be magic treasures. It could also be beauties or martial arts manuals. In short, whether something was valuable or not was not up to you. But the East County Marquis, Lin Qian, a warrior from the Heavenly Dragon Continent. She was relatively lucky. She was not captured and became a slave. Instead, she stayed in the East County and became one of the many wandering warriors in the East County. What was a wandering warrior? It was those warriors who did not belong to a sect. Their martial arts were bought with money. Some of their cultivation experience was also spent to consult others or figure it out themselves. This kind of warrior had no ties and was relatively free. However, they lacked resources and did not have a sect to support them. It was actually very awkward. Lin Qian had just turned 16 this year, and her cultivation had already reached the one-line heaven realm. Not to mention wandering warriors. Even among the martial artists of a sect, she was considered a genius. It was a pity that her cultivation had encountered a shackle. She had not felt any signs of a breakthrough for a long time, so she wanted to enter Turtle Island to try her luck. Today, she had finally gathered the spirit stones needed to enter Turtle Island. 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. This was only the amount needed to enter. After that, she would need to pay 10,000 low-grade spirit stones every day. She calculated that she should be able to cultivate for about 10 days. This was what she earned by risking her life to kill pirates. It was not easy to come by. Human, have you been cooped up in your home all this time? Lin Qian was stopped by the guards at the checkpoint. 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. That's for our Divine Phoenix Empire's practitioners. As for you humans, you have to pay at least 1 million low-grade spirit stones to enter. You are robbing in broad daylight. Lin Qian was a little angry. So what if we are robbing in broad daylight? A mere human wants to enter Turtle Island to cultivate. Do you really think you are something? The guard glanced at Lin Qian, and his eyes suddenly lit up. He smiled and said, "However, you look good. Our East County Marquis likes beautiful women the most. If you are willing, you can try your luck. If you serve the East County Marquis, well, it will naturally not be a problem to enter Turtle Island." "That's right. You are so beautiful. Isn't it a pity if you don't use your beauty?" A female warrior next to her said with a smile, "You little vixens, don't you like to seduce the East County Marquis?" There was a hint of jealousy in the female warrior's voice. It was probably because she was old and weak. She was already in her 40s, so the East County Marquis would not take a fancy to her. Lin Qian's expression was a little ugly and said, "You are really going too far. Just wait. City Lord Ling Xiao will soon arrive at the East County. At that time, not only you, but the East County Marquis will also be finished." Chapter 1118. When City Lord Ling Xiao comes, he will definitely not let you guys mess around like this. While speaking, Lin Qian's eyes became dazzling, and a domineering figure appeared in her mind. Her mood was actually much better. The middle-aged woman smiled and said, "Little girl, did you take a fancy to that young hero? But I heard that although this person is really powerful, being able to repel more than 1 million troops of the Black Crow Empire at such a young age, he is very cruel and ruthless. However, this person is extremely cruel and cold. If he comes, he might not even be as good as the East County Marquis. Stop dreaming. It can't be. I've heard many people say that Ling Xiao is the Dragon King of the heavens, and he's a human. He even saved many people who were enslaved in the imperial city. He must be a good person, and a strong one at that. Lin Qian shook her head. Even though she had never seen Ling Xiao before, for a human to be able to be conferred the title of King and Minister of Divine Phoenix Empire, and to not forget about those of his kind who had fallen on hard times, just these 2 points alone were enough to make him an idol in her heart. She didn't like the young hero who she had only seen a few portraits of. To be more precise, it should be admiration, and yearning. Only when such a person came to the East County could he change the current chaotic situation of the East County and let all the suffering humans regain their freedom. Ha ha ha. The guard suddenly laughed disdainfully and said, "Idiot! Idiot! So what if Ling Xiao is the Dragon King of the heavens? Didn't the governor of the East County come in the past? There was a very tough guy, but the next day he was found to have fallen into the river to feed the fish. I have also heard of that Ling Xiao. At such a young age, his cultivation has reached the early stage of the 6 arts. But compared to our East County Marquis, he is far inferior. Our East County Marquis has the cultivation of the first Grotto Heaven realm. Besides, our East County Marquis is a real relative of the royal family. If it wasn't for the Dark Phoenix clan's patriarch making a mistake, our East County Marquis wouldn't have been sent to this broken place. He might even have become the crown prince. And even if the Dark Phoenix clan was deprived of the opportunity to run for emperor, they were still the royal family. He was just a small prince with a different surname, so what? Don't refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. I say, little girl, if you can be the woman of the East Commandery Marquis, even if you are just a plaything in bed, you will have a chance to enter Turtle Island. You will also have endless cultivation resources in the future. Lin Qian's brow creased as she said, I want to go to Turtle Island, but I definitely won't do that kind of thing. If you like it, you can go. Nonsense. If I were a woman, I would definitely be the first to throw myself into the arms of the East County Marquis. How could a little girl like you have a chance? The guard flew into a rage out of shame. What are you talking about? You can't be so rude to a beauty. You have to know how to cherish her. Suddenly, a voice that sounded like a smile that was not a smile sounded. A youth flew down from Turtle Island. This person was about 23 or 24 years old. He was dressed in colorful clothes and had a big red flower on his head. It was as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know that he was a prodigal son. Young Duke. The guard hurriedly turned around and cupped his hands. Pa. The young Marquis gave the guard a slap and said, How many times have I told you that you should treat beautiful women like beautiful porcelain? You should treat them gently. How can you be so rude? This young duke was the only son of the East County Marquis Ming Lu. Ever since the Dark Phoenix clan committed a crime, many people had changed their surnames. Some had the surname Ming, some had the surname Huang, and some had other surnames. The East County Marquis family had changed their surname to Ming. This was the most popular surname in the Dark Phoenix clan. Ming Lu was the absolute favorite son of the East County Marquis. Although this kid was a playboy and lazy because he grew up soaking in various medicinal herbs, his cultivation was not weak. At the age of 24, he was at the early stage of the 8 desolate heaven realm. Although he was not as good as many geniuses, it was not bad. After all, many cultivators might not be able to break through to the transcendent realm in their lifetime, let alone the celestial realm. After slapping his subordinate, Ming Lu looked at Lin Qian and said with a smile, Beauty, my subordinate, doesn't know how to speak, but he is right about one thing. Ling Xiao is nothing. At most, he is a pawn of others. He really thinks he is something. How can such a lowly human be compared to my father? He can't even be compared to this young master. Otherwise, Beauty, if you submit to this young master today, I guarantee that you can cultivate on Turtle Island for free in the future. Ming Lu's eyes were full of greed and lust at this time. He didn't take Ling Xiao seriously at all let alone Li Qingyan. The reason why he said this was just his usual attitude. He liked to pretend. He would only use force when he couldn't. Lin Qian looked at Ming Lu and felt a little nauseous. A feeling of disgust kept surging from her heart. The son of the East County Marquis Ming Lu, the dignified young duke, although he did not lose to others in terms of martial arts or literary talent. However, his character was a complete mess. Some noble young masters had to pretend to be a gentleman on the surface, but they were thieves and prostitutes inside. But this young Master Ming Lu did not do that at all. His father was the king here. Other than his father, he was the most powerful here. Ming Lu had known that Ling Xiao was coming because someone in the imperial city had already informed the East Commandery Marquis of this matter. Naturally, he also knew. The person who sent the letter warned them not to fight head-on with Ling Xiao because this young man was not easy to deal with. He also reminded them several times to keep a low profile and give face to the new city lord. But the East Commandery Marquis and his son, who were used to being local tyrants, not only did they not care about these warnings and reminders, they took it as a kind of insult. What a joke! The East Commandery was not big, but it was their home. What did a lowly human brat want to do? How could they not teach him a lesson? When he heard Lin Qian mention Ling Xiao and praise Ling Xiao, he was already angry. But this guy wanted to use his power and influence to make Lin Qian change her words. I'm sorry, young duke. I'll go back and gather more spirit stones. Lin Qian did not want to provoke this young duke, Ming Lu. She knew that she could not afford to offend him, so she chose to retreat. You can leave, but you have to answer a question first. Ming Lu said with a smile. Although he was smiling, there was a knife hidden in his smile. It seemed that as long as Lin Qian's answer did not satisfy him, he would destroy this woman in front of him. Please speak, young duke. Lin Qian nodded. Tell me in front of so many people. Is I better, or is that lowly human Ling Xiao better? Ming Lu asked. This was a question, but everyone knew that this young duke had already predetermined the answer. Of course, Lin Qian also knew, but she really could not go against her conscience and tell a lie that even she felt disgusted when she heard it. Chapter 1119. Reporting to the young Marquis, Ling Xiao was conferred the title of Heavenly Dragon King by the imperial court. His rank is higher than that of the East County Marquis, and he is only 16 years old. Lin Qian did not say it explicitly, but her words had already expressed her attitude. Slap! A loud slap sounded at the entrance of Turtle Island, attracting the attention of many people. However, after seeing Ming Lu, these people lowered their heads. They hated themselves for not having the ability to interfere in such an unfair matter. They hated themselves for not being willing to see a good girl being bullied by this bastard, but they did not dare to interfere. *TCH, don't you want face? It's your fortune that our young Marquis likes you. Do you really think that you are in high demand? The one who hit her was not Ming Lu, but the guard. The guard was slapped by Ming Lu and felt uncomfortable, but he did not dare to vent his anger on Ming Lu. At this moment, he found a vent, and it was Lin Qian. Of course, he dared to hit Lin Qian because he knew that Lin Qian's answer had angered Ming Lu. As a dog, he naturally had to act on behalf of his master. Lin Qian covered her face and looked coldly at the guard. In terms of strength, she was stronger than the guard. The reason why the guard dared to hit her was naturally because he was relying on the power of the East County Marquis. What's that look in your eyes? You still dare to glare at me? Do you believe that I won't slap you to death? Your idol, Ling Xiao, definitely won't even dare to fart. The guard pointed at Lin Qian and scolded. You still dare to compare such a lowly commoner with our young Marquis. I think you are really tired of living. Ming Lu stood there proudly and smiled. It felt good to have a lackey to help him vent his anger. It also saved him from wasting his energy. Did you hear that? Even my subordinate knows that Ling Xiao is just a lowly commoner. What bullshit king with a different surname? It's just a word from our imperial family. If you say he is, then he is. If you say he isn't, then he really isn't even a fart. Ming Lu said with a smile. He was like a winner flaunting his might. Not far from the entrance, there were 3 people. Ling Xiao, Moon Lady, and Cold Plum. They had just arrived at the East County. After reading the information of the East County, Ling Xiao knew that Turtle Island was a place that had to be fought for. When he came to the East Commandery, he had to control Turtle Island, even if he had to offend the East Commandery Marquis. The East County originally belonged to the Imperial Court and the East County official. It was occupied by the East County Marquis and became a place for private wealth and cultivation. He just wanted it back. Haim Miankeo led the Dark Assassins into the city to investigate the situation. He and Moon Maiden Cold Plum came to Turtle Island to observe. If he wanted to take back Turtle Island, he needed an entry point. He didn't expect to encounter such a situation as soon as he arrived. Master, that is the only son of the East County Marquis Ming Lu. This kind of thing is only a small matter. What this guy is really bold is that he actually colluded with the pirates of the True Demon Empire and kept harming the people along the coast. Cold Plum pointed at Ming Lu and said, "When I came to the Divine Phoenix continent, I stayed here for a period of time, so I am very clear about this matter. When the pirates rob the people, the East County Marquis will not send troops or delay sending troops. When the pirates rob the things, they will share the spoils with the pirates. It is extremely dirty." Ling Xiao looked at Ming Lu and then at the girl. Although they were just strangers, he was now the Dragon King of the East County, the Lord of the City. Lin Qian was also considered his citizen. He would not be happy that his citizens were bullied by bullies. Moreover, Ming Lu kept calling him a lowly citizen. He did not put him, the Lord of the City, in his eyes at all. If he did not teach him a lesson, how could he convince the people in the future? Young master, there's no need to be polite with this kind of bitch. I'll immediately get someone to tie her up and send her to your residence. After playing with her, you can reward me and let me enjoy her. The guard chuckled. Ha 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 ha, you are still smart. In the East County, people who refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit should end up like this. All right. Tie this bitch up and send her to this young master's room. When this young master has played enough, I will definitely let you have a taste. At this time, Ming Lu no longer pretended. Instead, he revealed his ugliest side and planned to force himself on her. In his opinion, it was this woman's fortune that he thought highly of her. He did not expect that not only did this woman not give him face, she actually said that he was not as good as that lowly citizen Ling Xiao. Since that was the case, this woman could forget about cultivating on Turtle Island for the rest of her life. When he was tired of playing with her, he would send her to the brothel. Let's see if she still dared to act so shamelessly. Shameless. Lin Qian was so angry that her entire body was trembling. Although she had heard that the East County Marquis and his son were not good people, because she had been cultivating in seclusion for a long time, she did not know the extent of their shamelessness. At this moment, when she heard Ming Lu's words, she really wanted to kill this guy regardless of the consequences. Shameless? Ha! This young master will show you how shameless I am today. What a joke. No matter who it is in the East County, this young master can play with anyone he wants. You actually dare to refuse? You really have eaten a bear's heart and a leopard's guts. Ming revealed a shameless evil smile. What are you waiting for? Do it. Let this human woman enjoy herself. The guard also had an evil smile on his face. He called a few people and pounced on Lin Qian. Even if I die today, I won't fulfill your wish. City Lord Ling Xiao will definitely avenge me. Lin Qian drew her sword and fought. This girl was indeed quite powerful. With just one sword strike, she actually managed to stab a guard until he was severely injured. After all, her cultivation was not low. Those guards were only transcendent realm cultivators. How could they be her opponent? Young Marquis, why don't I do it for you? I only ask that after this matter is done, young Marquis can give me a few days to cultivate on Turtle Island. The middle-aged woman who had been standing next to her spoke again. She was a heaven realm cultivator with 2 forms heaven cultivation. She was stronger than Lin Qian. You? Of course, that's not a problem. As long as you can capture her alive, not only will this young master give you 3 days to cultivate, I can also introduce you to my father. My father really likes women like you, who are middle-aged but are still charming. If you serve him well, there will be plenty of benefits in the future. Ming Lu glanced at the middle-aged woman and smiled. Thank you, young Marquis, for your help. The middle-aged woman obviously regarded this as a benefit. Unlike Lin Qian's strong resistance, she was more than happy to do so. Lin Qian listened to my advice, apologized to the young Marquis, and serve him well. He is a magnanimous person. Maybe he will give you a chance to turn over a new leaf. What is Ling Xiao? To put it bluntly, he is just a lowly commoner. Why can't you understand? The middle-aged woman turned her head and looked at Lin Qian. She said with a smile. It was as if she was going to hit the jackpot today. I would rather die. Lin Qian shook her head. Everyone had their own ambitions. She would never do such a dirty thing. Chapter 1120. You have backbone, but there is no need to keep talking about death. Today, with me here, I want to see who can kill you. A dignified voice sounded from the crowd, and then a figure slowly walked to Lin Qian's side. The youth was full of heroic spirit, but also had steadiness and maturity. He also had an unfathomable presence that caused people to not dare to underestimate him. The middle-aged woman looked at the youth and did not recognize that this was Ling Xiao. The person in the portrait was too different from the real person. Little child, I advise you not to meddle in other people's business. If you meddle in other people's business here, you will lose your life. The middle-aged woman looked coldly at Ling Xiao and said, even though Ling Xiao's presence was not bad, he was just a youth that looked to be 16 or 17 years old. She naturally would not be afraid. Meddle in other people's business? Today, I will definitely meddle in other people's business. You're already so old, aren't you despicable? Just to go to Turtle Island to cultivate. You don't care about your own family's children and husband and want to throw yourself into the arms of that East Commandery Marquis. You say you are cheap. It's one thing to make your husband wear a green hat, but you also want a good girl to be humiliated by that little Marquis. You aren't just cheap to the bone, you are also bad to the bone. It would be more suitable for you to be a brothel procuress. Ling Xiao's words were not pleasant to hear. When speaking to this kind of woman, was there any need for pleasantries? The middle-aged woman's expression was dark and uncertain. Looking at Ling Xiao, she did not know how to deal with him. A young person that dared to speak to her like this, he definitely had background. Lin Qian looked at the tall figure beside her, and her heart was filled with warmth and a sense of security. She did not know who this person was, but in this vast divine Phoenix continent, it was really too rare to encounter a man that dared to stand up for her. In her mind, Ling Xiao's figure suddenly overlapped with this tall figure. Was it really him? Lin Qian's face was slightly red, and she couldn't help but feel excited. She had not misjudged him. The Ling Xiao that she worshipped, the young hero that she worshipped, would never watch someone like her being bullied. For a moment, Ling Xiao, who was originally full of heroic spirit, became even more handsome in her heart. Brat, where did this rat crawl out from? Why don't you open your eyes and see who this young master is? Is this something you can meddle in? Hurry up and scram. Otherwise, this young master will kill you too. Ming Lu didn't recognize Ling Xiao either. However, even if he did recognize him, he would probably have the same attitude. Towards Ling Xiao, he really did not care about him and was not faking it. After all, he had never seen any of the heroic deeds that Ling Xiao had mentioned. They were all hearsay. How much real information could a storyteller have in his mouth? Why would he care? Ling Xiao acted as if he didn't hear Ming Lu's words. He still stared at the middle-aged woman and said indifferently, "Scram, I don't want to see you again. I'll give you 30 breaths of time. After this time, don't blame me for being impolite." Although he was displeased and disgusted by this kind of trash, it wasn't to the point where he had to kill her. This middle-aged woman was a typical villain. In order to achieve her goal, she could do anything and sacrifice everyone else. Moreover, Lin Qian was just a stranger. "You're not allowed to leave. If you dare to leave, this young master will kill you." An angry voice rang out. "Brat, this young master is talking to you and you dare to ignore me? I think you're really tired of living." It didn't feel good to be looked down upon, especially for someone like Ming Lu. In the past, when he was in the East County, no one dared to not respond to his words. Even a chaste woman like Lin Qian had to respond. As for whether or not she would agree to some rude requests, that was another matter. However, this brat in front of him was not even willing to respond to his words. What did he take him for? Did he take him for air? "Young master, it's too easy to kill this brat. Doesn't the brothel have prostitution services recently? I think this brat is quite good-looking. Why don't we sell him there and exchange him for some spiritual stones to spend?" The one who spoke was the guard who had insulted Lin Qian many times before. This guy really played the role of a dog who relied on its master's power to the extreme. However, this time he had really hit the nail on the head. Ling Xiao didn't make a move, but Cold Plum couldn't bear it any longer. In Cold Plum's eyes, there was no good or evil. There was only Ling Xiao. Those who dared to insult Ling Xiao had to die, especially when it was an insult of this level. Cold Plum made a move. With a light flick of her finger, a plum blossom flew through the air and instantly pierced through the guard's head. Ah! The guard's corpse flew out, scaring many people nearby into screaming. Warriors were braver than ordinary people, but in the face of such an expert who killed without leaving a trace, they were still afraid. "Bastard, who dares to kill my people?" Ming Lu's voice was filled with anger and some fear. "Commander Zhang, hurry up and come over. This young master is being bullied." The Commander Zhang he spoke of was a 10 Directions Heaven Realm warrior. He was much stronger than this foppish young master. When Commander Zhang led more than 100 guards over and protected him, his proud and complacent expression blossomed once again. "I killed him," Ling Xiao said faintly. "He wants to sell me to a brothel as a prostitute. Then I can only let him go to hell to be a little ghost." "Who are you? Do you know who this young master is?" "How dare you kill this young master's subordinate in front of everyone?" Ming Lu asked coldly. "Young master, he definitely doesn't know you. Otherwise, I'm afraid he would be scared out of his wits. How would he dare to offend you like this?" Commander Zhang said with a smile. "Ha, that's right, that's right. In the East County, who doesn't know who this young master is not polite to this young master. Even the officials from the Imperial City don't dare to neglect this young master." Ming Lu enjoyed this flattery very much. His bootlicking skills are not bad. Your level of narcissism is not bad. Ling Xiao sighed and said, "Even if I didn't know who you were before, they kept calling you young Marquis. As long as I'm not deaf, I naturally know your identity. The only son of the East County Marquis, young Marquis Ming Lu, the most shameless and despicable person in the entire East County. Maybe not. Your father, the East County Marquis, might be even more shameless and despicable than you. You, how dare you slander this young master and my father, who gave you such courage?" Ming Lu was so angry that smoke was about to come out of his 7 orifices. In his entire life, he had never seen such a reckless person before. He almost gritted his teeth and threatened, "Seeing that you're a stranger, I'll give you a way out. In front of everyone here, kneel down and lick my shoes clean." Naturally, he would not give Ling Xiao a way out. However, if he let Ling Xiao die directly, it would be too easy for Ling Xiao. Therefore, he wanted to humiliate Ling Xiao before making a move. Chapter 11:21. Boy, did you hear what our young Marquis said? Hurry up and do as he says. Commander Zhang suddenly burst out with a fierce, murderous aura and rushed towards Ling Xiao. The people around could not help but shiver. Whether it was the middle-aged woman or Lin Qian, their faces were a little pale. Ming Lu smiled. He smiled very proudly. He believed in Commander Zhang's strength. Commander Zhang was an expert, second only to his father, the East Marquis. To deal with this boy in front of him, he only needed to release his murderous aura to make this boy kneel and beg for mercy. However, his smile soon came to an abrupt end, because in the face of Commander Zhang's terrifying murderous aura, Ling Xiao was not afraid. Instead, he showed a mocking smile. It was as if he was mocking an ant for stretching out his leg in front of an elephant. "You want me to kneel down and lick your shoes clean?" The mocking smile on Ling Xiao's face became more and more exaggerated. He had met many arrogant people in front of him, but this was the first time he had met someone who made such a strange request. "Do you know my name? Do you know what I do? How dare you release your murderous aura in front of a prince? Your Commander Zhang is really courting death." "Prince?" Ming Lu was stunned for a moment. Suddenly he understood something and exclaimed, "Are you that Dragon King Ling Xiao?" "You finally guessed it. You're smart." Ling Xiao smiled slightly. If you're Ling Xiao, that's even better. Commander Zhang, someone is behaving atrociously in our territory. What do you think we should do?" After knowing Ling Xiao's identity, Ming Lu was not afraid at all. Instead, he showed an even more ferocious expression. He was worried that Ling Xiao was a member of a big pirate nearby, so he did not dare to attack directly. After all, the reason why his family could become the overlord of the East County was because of these pirates. Without these pirates, they would lose a lot of gray income. Now that he could confirm Ling Xiao's identity, what was he afraid of? Understood, young Marquis. Commander Zhang stood in front of Ming Lu and released an even stronger murderous aura. The murderous aura had faintly condensed into a long saber. To be able to reach this level, that was truly considered relatively strong, worthy of being a martial artist with 10 directions, heaven, cultivation. You dare to make a move against a grand prince with just this bit of strength? You're not afraid of death, but this killing intent is simply too disgraceful. Ling Xiao smiled and said, "I'll give you a chance to live. Tie up your families, young Marquis." As expected of a young hero, it's rumored that he's extremely arrogant and overbearing, capable and decisive when doing things. He's never been sloppy. He actually dared to kidnap the young Marquis. Awesome. I'm just afraid that when a tiger leaves the plains, it will be bullied by dogs. Don't forget that there was a governor who was very unyielding when he came here in the past. However, after seeing how powerful Commander Zhang is, he obediently bowed his head. Ling Xiao is definitely different. I heard that he even dared to kill someone from the royal family. The martial artists of the East County were discussing animatedly. They really did not expect that the new city lord would do such a thing as soon as he arrived in the East County. Was he trying to show off his power to the East County Marquis? How dare you? How could Commander Zhang listen to Ling Xiao's words? Seeing that his murderous aura could not deter Ling Xiao at all, he simply made a move. A short saber appeared in his hand, and his body suddenly moved forward. The saber flashed and slashed toward Ling Xiao's head. This person was indeed bold. He actually dared to kill the city lord of the East County, sent by the imperial court, who was conferred the title of Prince Tianlong. It seemed that the East County Marquis family was really the local tyrant in the East County. They were used to being arrogant. Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully. Attempting to murder a prince of the imperial court is a capital offense. As his laughter fell, the sword in his hand had already pierced through Commander Zhang's body. At that moment, Feng Hua was too fast. It was too shocking. Ming Lu and Commander Zhang did not see clearly how Ling Xiao attacked. There was no sword in his hand a moment ago, but in the next moment, Commander Zhang was stabbed. How fast was that? After killing Commander Zhang, Ling Xiao did not even blink. He casually threw the corpse away and then looked at Ming Lu. At that moment, a terrifying killing intent suddenly erupted, piercing through the sky and piercing through Ming Lu's courage. Everyone shuddered in fear. Ming Lu directly knelt on the ground. It was not that he wanted to kneel, but that terrifying killing intent forced him to kneel. He wanted to stand up, but his legs were weak and he could not move at all. What terrifying strength! Is this really the 16-year-old Ling Xiao? It can't be wrong, it can't be wrong. If Ling Xiao didn't have such strength, how could he capture Tomohiko Kuma alive? How could he kill Timur Motu? He's too strong. This aura is probably stronger than the East County Marquis. In the crowd, everyone's hearts started to beat faster. Impossible. Aren't you at the early stage of the 6 arts heaven? How can you be so strong? Ming Lu knelt on the ground and shouted in fear. Ling Xiao slowly walked towards Ming Lu. He was really slow, even slower than an ordinary person's walk. However, with every step he took, it was as if he was stepping on Ming Lu's heart. Ming Lu was so scared that his face turned pale. Clap, clap, clap. Ling Xiao squatted on the ground and gently patted Ming Lu's face 3 times. He said with a smile, "How can a young marquis kneel on the ground?" "Weren't you very impressive and arrogant just now? Didn't you want me to kneel down and lick your shoes clean? Why are you kneeling down to me now? Humiliation. Absolute humiliation." Ming Lu, who was at the 8th desolate heaven realm, did not even have the chance to make a move in front of Ling Xiao. He was so scared by his aura that his legs went soft and he could not move. This was such a shameful thing. When the middle-aged woman saw this situation, she hurriedly sneaked into the crowd and tried to escape. However, she was stopped by the indignant crowd. It was understandable that the crowd did not dare to stand up just now. After all, if they stood up, they would only die and would not be able to save Lin Qian. Now that they had Ling Xiao's support, they naturally did not have to be afraid of the East County Marquis, let alone the young Marquis. Lin Qian was already dazzled by him. He was such a powerful and mighty man. He was such an infatuating man. He was such a man who was not afraid of power and dared to do anything. Why didn't she meet him earlier? City Lord, you have to uphold justice for us. The East County Marquis and his son have done all kinds of evil in the East County for many years. They have killed several governors in the past, and those who didn't die have become their lackeys. Someone in the crowd shouted, "Yes, punish the East County Marquis and his son severely." "Shut up," Ling Xiao said coldly. "Since you know that the East County Marquis and his son have done all kinds of evil, but no one dares to stand up and resist, you deserve what you have encountered. I will definitely deal with the East County Marquis and his son, but not for you, but for those who dare to resist." He said these words to pave the way for the future. Whoever wanted to live in the East County had to bear the responsibility of guarding the land and protecting their home. Otherwise, they would have to get lost. Chapter 11:22. The crowd fell silent. Although Ling Xiao's words were unpleasant, they were not unreasonable. They were not willing to stand up for themselves, and only wanted others to stand up for them. How could there be such a good thing in the world? "Ling Xiao, you'd better not go too far." "That's right, I'm not your match, but my father is much stronger than you. If you know what's good for you, just treat today's matter as a misunderstanding. In the future, we'll mind our own business. You can enter and exit Turtle Island freely. How about it?" Ming Lu gradually recovered from his panic. He was not stupid. He knew that he was not Ling Xiao's match, and the other party was the city lord of the East County, personally sent by the imperial court. If he wanted to kill him, there would be no problem at all. Therefore, instead of forcefully resisting, it was better to take a step back. He believed that his concession could make Ling Xiao give up on humiliating him. After all, he felt that Ling Xiao would not insist on going against his father. When he returned, he would complain about this brat and secretly kill him. In the future, who would dare to come to the East County to go against them? Slap. Ling Xiao did not say anything, but he gave Ming Lu a resounding slap. Young Marquis, do you know who you are talking to? I, Ling Xiao, the Lord of the East County, Dragon King Tian. Not to mention Turtle Island. Even your home is in my territory. You want me to enter and leave Turtle Island freely? Do I need your permission for my own things? Ling Xiao, don't go too far. Ming Lu was too shocked. This boy in front of him was extremely daring. Was he using a chicken feather as a token of authority? He really wanted to take Turtle Island from their hands? Too far. You haven't seen what's even worse. Ling Xiao sneered and said, This king seems to remember that you just asked me to kneel down and lick your shoes clean. How about this? I won't make things difficult for you. As long as you kneel down and lick my shoes clean, I won't kill you and let you get lost. How about that? Although Ling Xiao said this with a smile on his face, in Ming Lu's ears, it was eerie and terrifying. Should he do it or not? I don't believe you dare to kill me, Ming Lu said through gritted teeth. But just as he finished speaking, one of his arms was already gone. I don't know how many innocent girls you've harmed with this arm of yours. I believe no one will object if you chop it off. So are you going to do it or not? Ling Xiao's face turned gloomy, and his voice was as cold as a sharp blade. No one dared to breathe loudly. He had long heard of this young hero's decisiveness and experience. Moreover, he was never sloppy. No matter who the other party was, he dared to be ruthless. Looking at it today, it was indeed so. I'll do it. Ming Lu looked at his arm in horror. Waves of pain came from his arm, and he could hear himself squealing like a pig being slaughtered. Reason told him that the person in front of him was simply a lunatic. If he didn't do as he was told, he would really be killed. Very well, let's begin, Ling Xiao said indifferently. Ming Lu endured the humiliation and lay on the ground, licking Ling Xiao's shoes clean. During this process, many of the surrounding martial artists cheered out loud. After all, the things that Ming Lu had done in the past couldn't be considered excessive even if he was cut into 1,000 pieces. Just helping the new city lord clean his shoes was already far too easy. However, they were also a little worried at the same time. If Ling Xiao and the East County Marquis had a head-on conflict, would the East County start a war? At that time, would they not even be able to be servants? Your dignity? Where's your pride? I'm just a lowly person, and you're kneeling in front of a lowly person and doing such a disgraceful thing. Who do you think you are? Ling Xiao looked coldly at Ming Lu, who was kneeling there, and his cold voice was filled with sarcasm. Everyone sighed in their hearts. That's right. Ming Lu was so arrogant and proud before. He said that Ling Xiao was useless and even tried to compare himself with Ling Xiao. In the end, such a self-righteous person had now abandoned all his self-esteem and knelt in front of Ling Xiao like a servant. This was a warrior with the cultivation of the 8 desolate heaven. In front of Ling Xiao, he was like a grandson. This Ling Xiao was really arrogant and strong enough. Ming Lu had been telling himself in his heart that after this matter was over, he would definitely make Ling Xiao pay back 100 or 1,000 times. He wanted Ling Xiao to kneel in front of him like a dog, just like he was today. No, it was even worse than this. I know what you're thinking. Are you thinking of taking revenge on me when you go back? Okay, it doesn't matter. You can get lost now. When you go back, tell your father that if you behave yourself in the future, we can stay out of each other's business. If he really wants to make trouble for me, then just come. I'll wait for him. Ling Xiao stepped on Ming Lu's head and said coldly, I heard that you have a few sworn brothers who are pirates nearby. By the way, tell them to wash their necks and wait. With me, Ling Xiao, in the East County, they won't have a good life. Get lost. At the same time, Ming Lu was kicked away. Immediately, a few people hurriedly came forward and carried him away. Naturally, he let Ming Lu go on purpose. Ming Lu alone was not a threat to him at all. Since he came to the East County, he had to use a strong drug, the East County Marquis, and those pirates had to be eliminated. Otherwise, it would not be a good thing to be spied on by poisonous snakes when he was lying down. Turning around, Ling Xiao looked at the middle-aged woman. At this time, the middle-aged woman had been grabbed by the onlookers. Her body was trembling like a sieve. You don't have to be so afraid. I'm really not interested in dealing with you. I just want to give you a piece of advice. As a martial artist, you have to know how to love yourself. What's more, you have a man and a child. After saying this coldly, Ling Xiao no longer paid any attention to this person. At this time, Meng Tong led a group of people to Turtle Island. Meng Tong replaced the people from the East County Marquis Mansion who were originally guarding Turtle Island. Remember, if they want to get lost, you don't have to do anything. If anyone dares to resist, kill them. Ling Xiao looked at Meng Tong and ordered. Yes, sir. Meng Tong received the order and led hundreds of northern desert soldiers to replace the people from the East County Marquis Mansion. Those people were also intimidated by Ling Xiao's domineering aura. No one dared to resist and got lost obediently. Everyone listen up. From today onwards, the cost of entering Turtle Island and cultivating on Turtle Island will be reduced by half. Everyone must be treated equally. It doesn't matter if you are a human, the Divine Phoenix Clan, or the Sea Clan. Those who are already cultivating on the island will not be counted. After all, the cost will not be collected by us. He did not intend to make it free. After all, Turtle Island was only so big. If it was free, it might cause the primordial energy of the universe on Turtle Island to quickly dissipate. The gains would not make up for the losses. What's more, there was no problem with Turtle Island charging fees. It was just that the East County Marquis was using public resources for private purposes and charged too much. Chapter 11:23. Ling Xiao reducing the cost of entering Turtle Island by half was already very generous. Hearing his words, all the martial artists present cheered and jumped for joy. They had never thought that they could enter Turtle Island to cultivate for free. It was already very good to pay half of the cost. If that's the case, then do it according to the rules. There's no need to crowd here. Ling Xiao waved his hand and said, Thank you, Dragon King Tian. The group of warriors began to line up again. Lin Qian walked in front of Ling Xiao and bowed solemnly. City Lord, thank you so much for today's matter. If it wasn't for you, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to keep my life. It's what I should do. I admire a warrior like you who dares to resist. How about this? You don't have to pay the cost of entering Turtle Island this time. In addition, you can have 1 month of free cultivation time. I can see that you are a talent. You have to work hard. Ling Xiao nodded and smiled. Hearing this, Lin Qian was stunned. She had only done what she thought was right. She did not expect to receive such a reward. She was really grateful, excited, and a little flustered. All right, go and cultivate. I just came to the East County, and there are still many things I don't know. I have to go to other places to take a look. Ling Xiao smiled and said, Yes. Lin Qian was extremely excited, but also a little disappointed, because she also saw the 2 women who came with Ling Xiao. No matter which one it was, they were all much more beautiful than her. At best, she could only be considered as one of the lucky ones among the countless people that this young hero had helped. However, she was only a little disappointed. Even so, she was lucky enough. Looking at the envious gazes of the people around her, she felt a burst of sweetness in her heart. Even if she could not become his woman, there was nothing bad about being able to share some of his burden. The middle-aged woman looked at this scene and felt ashamed and regretful. She really did not expect that Ling Xiao was even stronger than the rumors said. The only son of the East County Marquis, he actually chopped off his arm without batting an eyelid. The surrounding martial artists also had their own thoughts. In comparison, although Ling Xiao was younger than the governors who had come to the East County in the past, this young man's actions were the most radical and daring. The East Commandery Marquis had probably encountered a tough opponent this time. City Lord, the East County Marquis, is not at home. According to our investigation, he should have gone to the heavenly Dragon Continent. When Ling Xiao left Turtle Island and returned to East County City, Jining had already completely controlled the city. Haim Miankeo was the one who reported to him. The people of the East County Marquis who resisted were all killed. As for the rest who were willing to stay, they were directly taken in and modified by Qinhua. After all, these people were originally the lackeys of the East County Marquis. Who knew if they really wanted to join him? He had to teach them well. As for Qinhua, he was an expert here. In addition, Zhu Geming was tasked with rebuilding the East County City. The current East County City's defense was too weak. Once it was attacked by pirates, the consequences would be unimaginable. A large number of formations had to be set up, as well as mechanical weapons. Otherwise, it would definitely not work. Of course, Ling Xiao also contributed some relatively new formations and mechanism diagrams. As for the three generals, Shua Xan, Zhang Yufei, and Li Ruguang, they were in charge of eliminating the nearby pirates. Ling Xiao was about to return to the heavenly Dragon Continent. Before he left, he had to see a peaceful and well-defended East County City. The East County Marquis's departure gave him plenty of time. He guessed that the East County Marquis might have gone to participate in the Heavenly Dragon Continent's meeting of heroes held by the True Demon Empire. Perhaps he would be able to meet him at that time. After settling everything, Ling Xiao handed over the affairs of the East County to Jining while he went to Turtle Island to cultivate. Previously, when he was in the Scorpion Men tribe, he had obtained the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll, but he had not had the time to cultivate it. He could take advantage of this time to cultivate. Perhaps he would gain something new. Moreover, the improvement of his cultivation could not be stopped at any time. Practicing martial arts was like rowing a boat against the current. If he did not advance, he would fall behind. Moreover, his cultivation was still too far away. He had to hurry up and cultivate. The Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll was completely different from the martial arts that Ling Xiao had cultivated in the past. It was as if he had entered another cultivation world. In the past, the ultimate goal of cultivation was still the body. Even the soul martial arts were the same. The ultimate goal was to strengthen the body through the soul. However, this Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll was different. Its ultimate goal seemed to be to condense the soul into an existence that could stand side by side with the body. It would not affect the body, but it could make the soul extremely powerful. Of course, Ling Xiao knew very well that it was meaningless to bite off more than one could chew. This was because the ultimate goal of many martial arts seemed to be very powerful, but it might not be true. It was better to start from the beginning step by step. The cultivation method of the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll was visualization. Ling Xiao actually did not understand what the so-called visualization was. However, the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll had a specific operation method, which included various hand seals and incantations. Every step was clear and specific. As long as one cultivated according to the steps, one could consolidate the soul into a primordial spirit, and one soul could leave the body. I forcefully stripped this scroll from the lizard patriarch's soul, so it shouldn't be fake. As for the specific effects, I'll see after I cultivate it. Ling Xiao maintained a skeptical attitude toward everything. Even so, he still had to try because he would not know if it was real or not if he did not try. With that thought in mind, he sat cross-legged. The process of consolidating the soul into a primordial spirit was relatively simple. In fact, Ling Xiao had already done it unintentionally in the past. This time, he spent less than an hour to pass the Primordial Spirit Remnant Scrolls. Primordial Spirit Remnant Scroll. During the process, he clearly realized that his soul had become more condensed. His spirit, had completely melted into a golden bead, which was flickering with a dazzling light in his hollow body. It was easy to consolidate a primordial spirit, but it was not that easy to let one's soul leave the body. Not only was it not easy, but it might also be very risky. Even so, Ling Xiao was still unwilling to give up. It was impossible to be foolproof when cultivating any martial arts. If Ling Xiao was not willing to take such a small risk, he might as well give up on becoming a martial artist. The cultivation method of the coming out stage involved visualization. After watching the cultivation process, Ling Xiao more or less understood visualization. He made hand seals with both hands and chanted an incantation. He kept calm and imagined that his soul was moving forward in a pitch-black cave. If he could walk through the cave and see light, his soul would leave the body. He would be considered to have succeeded in cultivating the coming-out stage. Ling Xiao called this cultivation method the light visualization. Wasn't all the visualization for the moment he saw light. Chapter 11:24. Even though the incantation was very complicated and difficult to understand, and the hand gestures were also very difficult to memorize. For other martial artists, just memorizing these things without making any mistakes would probably take 1 or 2 years. But for Ling Xiao, this was not a problem at all. His Tai Chi eye had powerful analysis, practice, and even replication abilities. Memorizing these things, even if he could not understand them, he could display them exactly as they were. Soon his state of mind was peaceful. Outside, there were his most trusted subordinates guarding. He did not need to worry at all, so he could completely focus his energy on cultivation. It could be said that his heart was as still as water. The moment he completely calmed down, a deep and dark tunnel suddenly appeared in his mind, and this tunnel became very clear, as if he was walking inside. But the tunnel was very long, and as he walked, he felt that his footsteps were very heavy. His brain felt like it was being torn apart by something, and the pain was unbearable. He gritted his teeth fiercely, enduring the pain, and did not give up. If a martial artist could not endure pain that ordinary people could not endure, he could not possibly have great achievements. Gradually, the tunnel in his mind merged with his memories. He still remembered very clearly the days when they were beggars in Tianfeng City. They had to experience the days of being chased by the city defense army almost every day, and a dark tunnel outside the city became the best place for them to escape. Almost every day, they had to walk out of that dark tunnel. Standing at the exit of the tunnel and looking at the light outside, many people hesitated and did not dare to go out, because if they went out, what they would embrace might not be light, but the city defense army's butcher's knife and cruel beatings and death. Because of fear, many beggars would rather starve to death than take a step out of that tunnel. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. He was very clear that walking out of the tunnel might be dangerous, but he could get food to survive and might even see a better tomorrow. Grab the light. Charge out bravely. Suddenly he pounced out. It was clearly a kind of illusion, but it still made Ling Xiao feel a strong sense of reality. The moment he charged out of the tunnel, the whole world seemed to be different from before. He felt as if his body was floating in the air. The stone cave he was in was only 5 meters high, and he actually felt like he was about to crash into the ceiling of the stone cave. But after the collision, he didn't feel any pain. He looked down in surprise. As a result, he almost screamed out loud. Wasn't he the one sitting cross-legged on the ground? The Ling Xiao on the ground had his eyes closed, and his hands were forming hand seals. His mouth was no longer moving, as if he had fallen asleep. He was even breathing slowly. Successfully hatched. At that moment, Ling Xiao confirmed his current state, and he couldn't help but feel happy. There was also a trace of panic. The primordial spirit remnant scroll also had a reminder of what would happen after the soul left the body. If the wind blew at this time, it might never return to the body. The best way was to strengthen the soul that had just come out of its shell so that it wouldn't be blown away by the strong winds. Soul, formless matter. It clearly existed, but it seemed like it didn't exist at all, because almost no one in the profound world could see it. Only powerful cultivators could sense it. Powerful martial artists could use their soul force to hurt people, but they really didn't think about hatching their soul out of the body, let alone doing it. Ling Xiao flew in the stone cave, trying to touch the cave walls and things on the ground with his hands, but found that he couldn't touch them at all. This was exactly the same as the description of hatching in the primordial spirit remnant scroll. This kind of feeling was really wonderful. It made people want to shout out loud. However, Ling Xiao also understood that no matter how loud his soul shouted, no one could hear it. He penetrated the stone wall and came out of the stone cave. Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and Ling Xiao actually felt an incomparable, piercing cold. He was so scared that he hurriedly returned to the stone cave. Sure enough, as the scroll said, when the soul lost the body, it was really a very dangerous thing. Unless your soul was strong enough, otherwise, a dog's bark could directly shatter your soul. At that time, you wouldn't even know how you died. After the soul re-entered the body, Ling Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. The hatching was successful, so the next thing to do was to strengthen the soul after hatching, so that it could resist the invasion of the outside world. This process was still carried out through visualization. What he didn't expect was that the God Investiture catalog, which had been buried in his memory and almost completely forgotten by him, appeared again. This God Investiture catalog was obtained when he was in the Yuehua school, and there were a lot of pictures of people drawn on it. In the past, Ling Xiao thought that these pictures were the powerful martial artists of the immemorial era. But as he learned more and more things and his experience continued to increase, especially after learning the primordial spirit remnant scroll, he suddenly understood that the God Investiture catalog didn't describe the martial artists of the immemorial era. It was a group of strong people who didn't exist in the profound world, because these people seemed to know the method of cultivating the primordial spirit, which was impossible in the profound world. Of course, no matter where these people came from, they could help Ling Xiao a lot at this stage. The so-called visualization was not based on imagination. Instead, it was based on reality as a reference to carry out visualization. In the God Investiture catalog, those strong people happened to be his reference. There was a strong person in it who had 3 heads and 6 arms. Not only was there a scene of him fighting, but there was also a scene of him sitting cross-legged and visualizing. Ling Xiao followed the appearance of this person and imagined that he had 3 heads and 6 arms. Then his 6 arms formed 6 kinds of hand seals. The 3 heads chanted 3 kinds of incantations. Then he visualized his mountain river world. In the vast mountain river world, the sun and moon alternated and the stars were speckled. All of this light poured into his primordial spirit and turned into some kind of energy. All of this was visualization, an illusion. In fact, it didn't exist. However, because of the cultivation method of the primordial spirit remnant scroll, these visualizations could become reality. If someone stood next to Ling Xiao at this time, they would definitely see that Ling Xiao seemed to have 3 heads and 6 arms. Those hazy arms and heads were condensed from soul force. Above his head, it was no longer the ceiling of the cave. Instead, it had become an empty universe. Although this universe looked very illusory and unreal, the energy that poured in from it was real. Countless rays of light continued to enter Ling Xiao's mind, and his primordial spirit was rapidly becoming stronger. Ling Xiao felt as if he was immersed in a hot spring. The gentle water touched his limbs and bones, and the suitable temperature allowed his body to relax completely. That kind of comfortable feeling was really as if he had ascended to immortality. Chapter 11:25. However, the visualization was not so smooth. Just like how people would encounter many enemies in reality, the soul would also encounter many dangers during the visualization process. Sometimes he would be affected by some spiritual object and have some strange thoughts. He could no longer focus, and the things he was visualizing were about to collapse. He would see many women in revealing clothes dancing around him, and that kind of dance was completely used to seduce people. If he was not careful, he might be immersed in it. There were so-called inner demons in the cultivation of martial arts, and in the cultivation of the soul, he would probably encounter similar things, and the effects would be even more terrifying. At the crucial moment, the image of a three-headed, six-armed powerhouse appeared in his mind. In just an instant, those women seemed to have met their nemesis and fled in fear. Ling Xiao finally returned to normal. At this moment, he vaguely learned the name of this powerhouse, Neza. A new piece of information was actually transmitted from the god investiture catalog. This Neza was actually the incarnation of a lotus, so he would not be afraid of temptation. This was because he did not have 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls. It seemed that using this Neza to suppress evil thoughts and inner demons should be a very good method. Ling Xiao felt that his choice was really too wise. However, after thinking about it, he was still a little worried. Although the primordial spirit remnant scroll was powerful, the process of cultivation was really dangerous. If he hadn't visualized Neza in time to suppress the evil thoughts, he was afraid that he would have been completely crippled. Cultivating the soul was really more dangerous than cultivating the body. However, giving up when there was danger was not Ling Xiao's style. Moreover, he now had experience. If he gave up now, it would be too much of a pity. The experience after that could be said to be bizarre and extremely dangerous. Sometimes it was as if he was in the deep mountains, surrounded by ferocious beasts. If he was not careful, his soul would collapse. Sometimes it was as if he had fallen into hell, seeing those scums he had killed before, being surrounded by those evil spirits. It was very dangerous. Sometimes it was as if he saw poisonous snakes in the cave where he cultivated. His body was bitten by the poisonous snakes, and the pain was unbearable. In any case, Ling Xiao experienced a disaster. Unknowingly, he had been immersed in this state for 2 hours. However, no matter how difficult or dangerous it was, Ling Xiao was always able to rely on his unbelievably strong willpower to withstand it. It was as if nothing could defeat him. It was even more impossible to defeat him. Finally, he saw through the mystery, and his soul became incomparably powerful. The cultivation continued for 3 days. Only then did Ling Xiao wake up to eat something and drink some water. I feel that my soul has become much stronger. Why don't I try to come out of my shell again? Thinking of this, Ling Xiao controlled his soul to leave his body. This time, it was very easy to succeed. There was no need to visualize a tunnel. Just by thinking about it, his soul left his body and floated in the air. He tried to let his soul float out of the cave. Although the wind was biting cold, he no longer felt the pain of dying. I didn't expect it to successfully cross the hatching stage and enter the nocturnal stage. Ling Xiao was delighted. The so-called nocturnal stage meant that the soul could leave the body and fly out in an environment without strong light. This feeling was somewhat similar to the martial soul leaving the body. Ling Xiao even suspected that there was some kind of connection between the martial soul and the soul of a martial artist. However, it was useless to doubt it. A large amount of information from the ancient era had been destroyed. If he wanted to clarify this matter, he would have to be reborn. The lizard ancestor took 2 years to reach the nocturnal stage, but I actually succeeded in 3 days. It seems that other than the problem of aptitude, It is probably because of the mountain and river martial soul and the secret soul technique. Ling Xiao did not think that he was a genius. In fact, he knew his own situation best. Without the mountain and river martial spirit, he could only be a relatively ordinary warrior. Of course, relying on his hard work, he could still become one of the best in martial arts. However, it was absolutely impossible for him to have today's achievements. His soul flew out of the stone house and flew into the distance. Ling Xiao had been paying attention to the connection between the soul and the body. If he felt that something was wrong, he would immediately turn back. He would not take too much risk. His soul had no weight and was almost floating in the air. Relying on his soul power, he could slowly move forward. Ordinary obstacles could not stop the soul from moving forward, unless it was something that could threaten the soul. For example, killing intent, fighting intent, blood chi, soul power, and other energy. Unknowingly, his soul actually floated above the river. There was a small boat in the river that was moving forward. Out of curiosity and fun, Ling Xiao urged his soul to fly into the boat. Young Marquis, in half a month, we will start the operation. We will work together to eliminate this Ling Xiao. Hearing this, Ling Xiao could not help but be shocked. This young Marquis was definitely Ming Lu. Who was the other person? He went over to take a closer look and found that this person was dressed rudely, but he was clearly a member of the sea race. If he guessed correctly, he was probably a nearby pirate. What a pity. I am really unhappy to let that Ling Xiao live for another half a month. At this time, Ming Lu had lost an arm and was in a sorry state. The usual pride on his face was gone, but there was a hint of ruthlessness. It is never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. Moreover, we only need to wait for half a month. Among those who joined Ling Xiao, many are still willing to be loyal to the East County Marquis. When they make a move in the East County city, our brothers of the Seven Island Alliance will think of a way to attack from the outside. The pirate smiled and said, the Seven Island Alliance has more than 200,000 people. Together with the East County Marquis' men, destroying a small East County city is not a problem. Sha Bei, thank you very much. If we succeed this time, your Seven Island Alliance will take 60% of our profits in the future, and we will only take 40%. No matter what, we have to kill this Ling Xiao. Otherwise, it will be difficult to relieve the hatred in my heart. Ming Lu gritted his teeth and said, Of course, that's not a problem. Come, come, come. Cheers to our successful cooperation. Sha Bei laughed. I won't drink anymore. I have to go back quickly. These newcomers are keeping a close eye on me. I'm afraid that if I go back late, they will suspect something. Ming Lu stood up and jumped off the boat. The boat was 50 meters away from the shore, but with Ming Lu's strength, there would be no problem for him to cross it. However, when he was in the air, he suddenly felt a chill penetrating his body, and he fell into the river. What the hell? Ming Lu climbed out of the water and looked around vigilantly, but he did not see anyone. Chapter 11:26. Unlucky. As he cursed, he rose into the air again and reached the shore. However, he was already drenched. Even if it was a martial artist, if they fell into the water without any preparation, they would still be in a sorry state. Ming Lu might not know that falling into the water was only a small punishment. The real trouble came from what happened the next day. Ling Xiao did not appear. He only told Ji Ning what he had heard. Then, Ji Ning personally appeared. In just one night, the so-called Seven Island Alliance disappeared from this world. The strongest warrior of the Seven Island Alliance was only at the first Grotto Heaven realm, the same as the East County Marquis. However, who was Ji Ning? He was a Yinyang realm expert. Originally, the Seven Island Alliance was most powerful at appearing and disappearing unpredictably. No one could find their specific location, so even the strongest warrior could not do anything to them. However, with Ling Xiao, all of this was no longer a secret. After Ling Xiao's soul left his body, he completely figured out the location of the Seven Island Alliance. Then, with Jining's help, he destroyed the biggest disaster in the East County overnight. In order to maximize the deterrence effect this time, Jining hung the heads of the 7 leaders of the Seven Island Alliance on the city gate. This not only made the people of the East County run around to spread the news, but it also frightened those who tried to rebel. From then on, they worked under Ling Xiao with peace of mind. As for that trash, Ming Lu, Ling Xiao did not kill him. Instead, he put him under house arrest. This was a very good bait. Whether it was the East County Marquis or anyone else, if they wanted to save Ming Lu, they would have to fall into his trap. He did not expect that his soul would actually break a big conspiracy and solve a big problem. This made Ling Xiao even more focused on cultivating the primordial spirit remnant scroll. Half a month later, Ling Xiao came out of seclusion. He had cultivated the primordial spirit remnant scroll to the late stage of the night wandering realm. He could freely release his soul in an environment without strong light. Furthermore, he could also use his soul to perform some simple soul secret techniques. Although Ling Xiao did not make a breakthrough in his cultivation and did not comprehend the light and shadow profound, his overall strength had definitely increased by a lot. It's time to go to the heavenly dragon continent and deal with the true devil empire. Ling Xiao chose to go now because he knew that the balance had been broken. With Sikong Zun dead, only the Yin-Yang Demon King was left in the true demonic kingdom. Thus, the opportunity had arrived. This time, even if he could not completely destroy the true devil empire, he would still turn this so-called empire upside down and then completely grasp the sky dragon continent in his hands. If the Tianli Union was willing to surrender, that would be the best. If not, then he could only forcibly disband it. A king who created the world absolutely could not be soft-hearted. On this day, Ling Xiao left the East County for the Sky Dragon continent. However, he did not take the same path as before. Instead, he went to the Sky Dragon continent, which originally belonged to the Blue Eyes. Now, this place belonged to the True Devil Empire's base camp, which was also the location of the True Devil Empire's Shanghai. When he was very young, Ling Xiao knew that the Blue Eyes' way of life was very different from the Sacred Dynasty. However, he had never seen it with his own eyes. This time it was an eye-opener. After getting off the ship, Ling Xiao discovered that the architectural style here was very different from the Sky Peak City and Sky Cloud City. Of course, the most important thing was that the practitioners here seemed to like wearing armor. There were plate armor, chain armor, leather armor, cloth armor, and many other types. Qin Hua, get your men to find a place to secretly set up camp. After we understand the situation in Shanghai, it won't be too late for us to launch an attack. Ling Xiao did not come to the Sky Dragon continent to play this time. In half a month, the East County's army had increased to more than 100,000 people. Most of them were the former Sacred Dynasty's army who rushed over after hearing the news. They were all able to go to the battlefield directly, and these people were very respectful to Qin Hua. Naturally, it would be best for Qin Hua to lead them. Jining led 10,000 Northern Desert Army to guard the East County, while the rest of the generals followed Qin Hua. There was basically no danger in the East County. Moreover, even if there was danger, Jining would be fine there. So their main direction of attack was naturally the True Devil Empire. The True Devil Empire's Shanghai was adjacent to the sea. Attacking from the sea was the easiest. However, because he did not understand the situation, Ling Xiao got Qin Hua's army to split up and scattered them to some deserted islands in the sea for secret training. Anyway, there were many deserted islands in the stormy sea. He only led 100 dark assassins led by Haim, Miankeo, and Cold Plum. The dark assassins had also increased in number, and they were still elites. Then I shall take my leave first. Marshal, please be careful. Ling Xiao was now the marshal of the expedition against the True Devil Empire. Qin, who naturally addressed him as Marshal. And I will. You must also remember that most of the people in the True Devil Empire are from the sea race. You must be very careful when training on the deserted islands. Don't let the sea race discover you. Otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Ling Xiao also reminded, yes. After sending Qin Hu off, Ling Xiao got the dark assassins to disguise themselves as ordinary people and sneak into the city. With so many people together, it was always more eye-catching. He did not want to be discovered by others before he did anything. Only the Moon Maiden was left by his side. The rest of the people had their own duties and had their own matters to attend to. Let's go, Sister Moon Maiden. Let's go to Shanghai and find this apothecary association. I heard that this apothecary association was introduced after the True Devil Empire was established. It can be considered as doing something good for our heavenly dragon continent. The Apothecary Association was a huge organization that spread throughout the mystic world. All the apothecaries and pills were in charge of this association. It was said that the Apothecary Association's headquarters was located near the Heaven's Chosen Gate. There were many experts in the association. Very few people dared to offend this organization unless they were tired of living. Otherwise, they felt that they would not need pills and medicines for the rest of their lives. Ling Xiao naturally did not go to the Apothecary Association to look for trouble this time. His goal was to obtain the apothecary certificate issued by the Apothecary Association. With this certificate, even the nobles of the imperial palace would have to give him some face. It would be very convenient for him to do anything in the future. Of course, the apothecary certificate was also divided into ranks. The higher the rank, the better the effect and the more attention one would receive. Originally, in the Blue Eyes clan, the people of the sacred dynasty were very disliked and had always been looked down upon. However, the situation that Ling Xiao faced today was a little different. As long as he said that he was an apothecary and was looking for the Apothecary Association, these people would immediately put on a smiling face and even show a flattering expression. It could not be helped. Apothecaries were the most respected and revered profession in the entire mystic world. No martial artist could leave the Apothecary Association. Apothecary was a general term that included alchemists, pharmacists, doctors, and other healers. This was also to make it easier to classify. After all, each place had a different name for an apothecary. If they all had different certificates, it would be a mess. Chapter 11:27. Magic City was indeed worthy of being the most prosperous city of the Blue Eyes clan. Now that it was the capital of the True Devil Empire, there was no need to mention the degree of prosperity. However, behind this prosperity, one could see many scenes that people did not want to see. The situation was even more serious than when he was in the Divine Phoenix Empire. Here, it was completely normal to sell sacred dynasty humans as slaves. On the road, there were even people who raised sacred dynasty human children as pets. If they were not obedient, they might even be thrown away. This scene made Ling Xiao determined to destroy the True Devil Empire, not only because of the previous personal grudges, but also because the True Devil Empire was really not a good thing. An empire that did not treat people as people. What was the use of it? On the Northern Han side, someone had already sent a letter. It was believed that in a few days they would launch an attack at the same time. With this pincer attack, it would be very easy to win while the True Devil Empire was not yet stable. These years, the True Devil Empire had offended many people. Where there was oppression, there was resistance. In the entire Magic City, there was only one alchemist association. The Alchemist Association was probably the most incompatible place with the Blue Eyes clan's buildings. It was a typical building of the Holy Dynasty with a quaint courtyard. Even from far away, one could smell the fragrance of herbs. Many martial artists liked to take a walk here, for no other reason than to be able to breathe the special air here. Above the Alchemist Association's gate was a plaque that did not look so eye-catching. On it were the words Alchemist Association written in green. It was also in the language of the sacred dynasty. Although the sacred dynasty had declined, the language of the sacred dynasty was the only common language in the mystic world. Is this the Alchemist Association? Ling Xiao walked to the door, very politely, bowed to the two guards, and then asked, "Yes, what can I do for you?" The guard glanced at Ling Xiao's attire indifferently. Although he did not drive him away, he looked a little indifferent. Instead, he took a few more glances at the moon lady beside Ling Xiao. After all, everyone liked beautiful women. Cough, cough, I'm here to obtain the alchemist certification. Ling Xiao really regretted bringing the moon maiden out. He coughed dryly and said, "Sure, but the Apothecary Association has a rule that you must have a recommendation letter from a yellow level apothecary. Take it out if you have it." The guard said calmly, "Recommendation letter?" Ling Xiao was stunned. He had never been to the Apothecaries Association before, so he didn't know that there was such a requirement. He felt a little helpless. Just as he was about to speak, he was pushed aside by a figure. "Get out of my way if you don't have a recommendation letter." "Don't block my way." The one who spoke was a young woman around 18 or 19 years old. She was quite pretty, but compared to the moon maiden, she was like heaven and earth. Ling Xiao was a little unhappy, but he was not angry. He was just a little unhappy to be pushed away like this. Just as he was about to say too, an old man walked over and said, "Little brother, don't be angry. This granddaughter of mine just can't change her bad temper. I'm sorry." Hearing this, Ling Xiao's anger dissipated instantly. He waved his hand and said, "Forget it, it's not a big deal." He noticed the badge that the old man was wearing. He should be a yellow level apothecary issued by the Apothecary Association. This standard was considered top-notch in the Sky Dragon Continent and the Divine Phoenix Continent. "Grandpa, what are you talking to him about? He doesn't even have a recommendation letter, and he wants to enter the Apothecary Association. I think he's planning to steal something, right?" The young woman said disdainfully. "Shut up." The old man said angrily, "I've told you many times. Learn to be more reserved when you're outside. Don't do to others what you don't want done to you. What would you do if someone did this to you?" "Grandpa, what's wrong with you? You've never scolded me before." The young woman was a little confused. "Just shut up when I tell you to." The old man looked at the moon maiden with a little panic, then said to Ling Xiao, "I'm sorry, little brother." Ling Xiao understood that the reason why the old man was so polite to him was not because of him, but because he was frightened by the moon maiden. "Old mister, even if I'm just an ordinary person, your granddaughter's actions are extremely inappropriate. Perhaps you can protect her when she's by your side, but when she's outside and you're not by her side, aren't you afraid that she'll get into trouble?" Ling Xiao's words were a little harsh. That woman had made him unhappy time and time again. With his personality, it was already good enough that he did not make a move. "What did you say? Do you know who my grandpa is? How dare you talk to him like that?" The young woman shouted. "My grandpa is one of the only 2 yellow-level apothecaries in the Apothecary Association. He's the famous Master Taimu." Ling Xiao looked at the young woman and said calmly, "It's admirable that you're a yellow-level apothecary, but that's your grandpa's honor. What do you count for? Looking at you, you don't even have a grade, do you?" Although this young woman had looks that would definitely attract men, it was useless to Ling Xiao. With such a beautiful woman by his side, how could he be interested in this young woman? "Listen carefully. My name is Tai Yunshan. I came here from 5 Immortal Island with my grandpa. Although I'm not an upper-grade apothecary now, I'll be one soon." Tai Yunshan listened and said proudly, "Today I'm here to take the low-level yellow-level apothecary exam." Master Taimu is indeed Master Taimu. Miss Tai Yunshan is only 18 years old this year, but you're already taking the exam to become a yellow-level apothecary. This makes many of your peers feel ashamed. One of the guards said with a smile. This flattery came at the right time. Hee hee, at least you know how to talk. If I pass the exam today, I'll definitely reward you with enough money for wine. Grandpa, let's go in quickly. Don't waste time here. Tai Yunshan turned around and looked at Ling Xiao. She realized that Ling Xiao was quite handsome and seemed to be quite strong. But so what? As long as she became a yellow-level apothecary, she could hire a lot of martial artists like Ling Xiao for free. Young man will go in first. The old man's attitude was quite good from the beginning. This didn't make Ling Xiao angry. He just felt that the girl named Tai Yinshan was a little naughty. Sister Yuenu, I'm really lucky that you're by my side today. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened? Ling Xiao sighed. Indeed, strength was still very important to a martial artist. After speaking, he looked at the two guards and said, I don't have a recommendation letter with me. Can I use other methods to enter the Apothecary Association? There is, unless you can refine a low-level, yellow-level pill on the spot, or you have one of the 12 sacred flames. The guards said with disdain. Perhaps in their opinion, Ling Xiao didn't have such ability. Chapter 1128. Ling Xiao smiled faintly when he heard the two guards' words. Although he couldn't use the sacred fire to attack for the time being, he could still use it for alchemy if he just wanted to show it off. As he extended his palm, a ball of crimson flames suddenly rose up. The blazing heat made the entrance of the Apothecary Association unbearably hot. The two guards couldn't help but take a few steps back. True Samadhi fire, one of the 12 divine fires. How can you control such a flame? Do you have the true Samadhi fire martial soul? Or have you reached the grotto heaven realm? Or are you a yellow-grade super apothecary? The two guards weren't so surprised for no reason. Anyone who could control the 12 divine fires, or rather, the 12 sacred fires, either had the martial soul of such a flame or had reached the grotto heaven realm. Unless he was a yellow-grade super apothecary. Apothecaries had to be proficient in controlling flames. Only yellow-grade super apothecaries could control the divine fire for a short period of time. The two guards wouldn't have been so surprised if the person in front of them was an old man with white hair and a ruddy complexion, or at least a martial artist in his 40s or 50s. Most importantly, Ling Xiao looked like a 16-year-old kid. Regardless of which possibility it was, he was a talent that the Apothecary Association valued greatly. Gentlemen, there are some things that are better left unknown. However, does what you said just now still count? Can I take the Apothecary Association's assessment now? Ling Xiao naturally wouldn't answer their questions. He had only shown the true Samadhi fire because he wanted to enter the Apothecary Association. Moreover, there were already many people watching because of the true Samadhi fire. It was better to enter the association as soon as possible to avoid unnecessary trouble. No problem, no problem. Master Apothecary, please enter. The attitude of the two guards took a huge turn. The indifferent attitude from before was completely gone. Instead, it was replaced with a respectful attitude. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. He had seen a lot of people like this who were arrogant before they became deferential. Sister Moon Maiden, let's go. Ling Xiao called out to the Moon Maiden, and the two of them stepped into the Apothecary Association. After walking into the Apothecary Association, the rich medicinal fragrance became even more obvious. Ling Xiao sniffed with his nose and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. This was because he could tell from the smell that there were many precious medicinal ingredients. Medicinal herbs like that were hard to come by. If he joined the Apothecary Association, he would have a much higher chance of obtaining these items. The members of the Apothecary Association were all busy with their own duties, so they didn't care who was coming in from the outside. This was because the guards would never let the troublemakers in. However, the Moon Lady by Ling Xiao's side was too dazzling, attracting a lot of attention. The Moon Lady didn't look much older than Ling Xiao. She was in her 20s and looked more like a big sister. Therefore, many people would probably think that it was the elder sister who sent her younger brother to participate in the pharmacist examination. What would you like to order? As soon as they stepped into the courtyard, a lady in a green dress walked out and asked the two of them with a smile, "I would like to participate in the pharmacist examination, but since it's my first time in the Apothecary Association, I don't know where to go." Ling Xiao explained. The lady in green didn't look down on Ling Xiao at all. This was because she had worked in the Apothecary Association for many years and had seen many young genius pharmacists who were already low-grade, yellow-grade pharmacists at the age of 18 or 19. For example, Miss Taiyun Shan was only 18 years old this year. It shouldn't be a problem for her to get a pharmacist certificate. The young man in front of her seemed younger, but she couldn't rule out the possibility that he was even more talented than Taiyun Shan. Therefore, the lady in green was very cautious. These people might be future masters, so it wouldn't do her any good to offend them. "The two of you, please follow me." The lady in green smiled professionally and invited Ling Xiao and the Moon Lady to a table. She said, "Are both of you participating in the examination?" "No, just me," Ling Xiao replied. "Oh, then please tell us your name, age, race, and master. We need to register. If you pass the examination, this information will be recorded in the Apothecary Association's database," the lady in green said. Ling Xiao, 16 years old, human master, Yuan Venerate. Although Ling Xiao had a few masters, Yuan Venerates had the greatest influence on him when it came to pharmacists. Therefore, it wasn't wrong to say that he was a Yuan Venerate. At the mention of Yuan Venerates, he really missed them. He hadn't seen them in a long time, so he wondered how his master was doing. 16 years old? If you pass the examination this time, I'm afraid you will become the youngest low-grade, yellow-grade pharmacist in the history of the Apothecary Association. The lady in green said in surprise, "Why is it only low-grade? Can't it be high-grade or super-grade?" Ling Xiao asked with a smile. "You must be joking." The lady in green thought that Ling Xiao was joking. Ling Xiao didn't explain further. If he was joking, so be it. However, the lady would know that he wasn't joking when the examination results were out. After the registration, Ling Xiao was given a number. There was more than one person participating in the examination today, so he had to wait according to the number. The examination venue of the Apothecary Association wasn't small, so there were already many people inside. Some of these people were accompanying the examinees, while others were staff members of the Apothecary Association. Of course, the most important people were the examinees. The old man called Tai Mu was also present. He was chatting and laughing with another old man. It seemed like they had a pretty good relationship. The two old men were the president of the Apothecary Association, Lin. He was a typical member of the Blue Eyes race. It was said that his cultivation base and grade were comparable to Tai Mu's. He belonged to the Apothecary Association, so even the people of the True Demons Empire didn't dare offend him. In the line of sight of these onlookers was an isolated area where the examinees would take part in the examination. At this moment, there were more than 10 people waiting there. Among them was the lady called Taiyun Shan. "Lin, I heard that the Lightning Demon King's daughter, Sikong Yu, is also taking part in the examination. Where is she?" Tai Mu suddenly asked. Hearing this, Ling Xiao couldn't help but be stunned. Wasn't the Lightning Demon King Sikong Zun? Then Sikong Yu was Sikong Zun's daughter. However, he immediately laughed again. Sikong Yu was Sikong Yu, and Sikong Zun was Sikong Zun. Although they were father and daughter, Ling Xiao had never interacted with this girl. As long as she didn't provoke him, he wouldn't do anything. Chapter 11:29. She's coming soon. Sikong Yu said that she had to prepare something. The Lightning Demon King's daughter is very talented, especially in terms of alchemy. She's probably even better than your granddaughter, Taiyun Shan. She's planning to take the yellow grade Advanced Apothecary Certificate this time. Lin chuckled. Sigh, this girl is only 17 years old. It's really infuriating to compare with others. My good granddaughter is also considered a genius, but compared to this girl, she really pales in comparison. They are simply not on the same level. At this point, Taimu suddenly saw Ling Xiao walking towards the assessment area. He asked in surprise, "Little brother, you're here too?" "Of course. I'm also here to take the apothecary certificate," Ling Xiao replied faintly before walking into the isolation area. The Moon Maiden stood there alone. She was like a pure and untainted lotus flower that could only be admired from afar and not touched. "This kid is really arrogant. He doesn't seem to be giving you any face, Master Taimu." Lin chuckled. "It's not his fault. My precious granddaughter offended him outside just now." Taimu smiled bitterly. "No wonder. It's fine to offend him, but it'll be troublesome to offend the woman beside him. She's an expert. Although I can't see her exact cultivation base, she's definitely not someone to be trifled with." Lin reminded him. "I know that." Taimu sighed and said, "Let me see that kid's information." Lin told the lady in green behind him. "Ling Xiao, 16 years old, human, master. Yuan venerate," the lady in green replied. The woman in green replied directly. All the information was recorded in her mind. 16 years old. Good kid. Not bad. He's actually so young, and he's actually a disciple of a Yuan venerate. That Yuan venerate actually took in such a disciple before he died? Lin was stunned. He felt that Ling Xiao's information wasn't simple at all. Could this Yuan venerate you're talking about be the one who was once hailed as the most outstanding apothecary in the history of the Apothecary Association? He died because he entered the heavens' chosen gate? Taimu asked. "That's right, it's him." Lin nodded. "It's hard to say whether this kid is a disciple of a Yuan venerate. After all, I have seen many people who use the name of a Yuan venerate to swindle others over the years. If this kid didn't fall for it, then he must be lying. What if it's true?" Taimu chuckled. "That's impossible. Unless this kid's talent is at Sikong Yu's level. How could a Yuan venerate take notice of him?" Lin shook his head. Maybe. In fact, Taimu also felt that it would not be easy to reach Sikong Yu's level. However, he hoped that he could take a look. After all, this kid was in a while. It was not that the two of them looked down on Ling Xiao. According to the information from the Apothecaries Association, most apothecaries advanced to the lower yellow level at around 30 years old. Geniuses were around 20 years old. For example, Iron Spruce Fir. And Sikong Yu was a special case among special cases, unable to be judged according to conventional standards. They did not think that Ling Xiao would be an exception like Sikong Yu. After all, if there were too many exceptions, they wouldn't be considered exceptions. Because of this, the two of them felt that the possibility of Ling Xiao becoming a low-grade Huang alchemist was rather low, let alone reaching Sikong Yu's level. "President, Deputy President, I'm sorry I'm late." While Taimu and Lin were discussing Ling Xiao, a cold and aloof voice was heard. This voice reminded Ling Xiao of Haim Miankeo. Haim Miankeo used to speak to everyone in this manner. Was she another powerful woman who stood high above the masses? Ling Xiao smiled and looked at the owner of the voice with the others. Sikong Yu. She was indeed outstanding. In terms of beauty, she wouldn't lose out to the Moon Lady. Her arrogance and coldness also gave her a special aura. It was obvious just by looking at the wide-eyed stares of the people around her. Even Ling Xiao couldn't help but sigh in admiration. This woman was really a rare beauty, and she was very special. Perhaps it was because she was a mixed blood between the Sea tribe and the human tribe, but her appearance was different from human and Sea tribe beauties. Her hair was a strange blue. It was so blue that it shined, but it was also very smooth. Under normal circumstances, Humans wouldn't have this kind of hair color unless they dyed their hair or cultivated some special martial arts. Compared to Sikong Taiyin Shan could only be considered normal. Of course, she wasn't bad in the normal category, especially that water blue silky hair. It was really eye-catching. Murderous aura. Just as Ling Xiao was observing Sikong he suddenly felt a cold gaze on him. He hurriedly looked back and realized that the Moon Lady's gaze was cold and dissatisfied. Haha, I didn't expect Sister Moon Lady to be jealous. Ling Xiao was very pleased. Although he liked the Moon Lady very much, he never really understood how the Moon Lady felt about him. Even if she traveled thousands of miles to save him, it could be understood as a sister's love for her brother. But this kind of jealousy could only be caused by love between a man and a woman. It's not too late. The time is just right. Let's go to the assessment area first. The assessment is about to begin. I hope the news of your father's death won't affect you. Lin sighed. The news of the Lightning Demon King being killed in the Divine Phoenix Empire had already spread to the Magic City. Everyone was very surprised. In the Heavenly Dragon Continent and the Divine Phoenix Continent, there weren't many people who could kill the Lightning Demon King. It was just a little strange. This news only mentioned that the Lightning Demon King was killed, but there was no detailed process of how he died. Don't worry, President. I won't be affected. Anyway, I haven't seen him since I was born. Sikong Yu said indifferently, and then she walked towards the assessment area. Ling Xiao actually understood why the news of him killing Sikong Zun wasn't completely spread. It was because some people wanted to protect him. They didn't want the True Demon's Empire and the Sea Clan to know that he killed Sikong Zun. And some people wanted to save face. If others knew that Ling Xiao killed Sikong Zun, then this Sikong Zun's death would be a little too cowardly. He was actually killed by a nameless, insignificant person. How embarrassing. Because of this, both sides tacitly omitted Ling Xiao's information. There aren't many people participating in the assessment today. All of you can start together. Go to the front of the pill furnace according to your number plate. There's only one assessment for the low-level, yellow-level alchemists, and that is to refine a low-level, yellow-level pill by yourself. When everyone arrived, Lin began to explain the content and rules of the assessment. You can collect the materials over there. As long as it's something that the Apothecary Association has, it's fine. But don't think about getting anything that's too expensive. After all, it's hard for us to get precious materials. Chapter 1130. Lin continued, the assessment will last for 1 day. If you can't refine the pill within 1 day, you will fail the assessment. Also, I need to remind you that if you fail more than 3 times, you will fail the assessment. You are not allowed to disturb each other. Focus all your attention on your own pill furnace. Each of you will be refining a different pill, so it's useless to peek. You may begin now. Because Taiyun Shan, Ling Xiao, and Si Kongyu entered the examination room one after another. Their numbers were connected. The pill furnaces for this assessment were also connected. Tai Yunshan looked at Ling Xiao and said, I don't care where you're from. I don't care what your name is. In short, when I'm refining the pill, you're not allowed to affect me. Even if you fail, you have to control yourself. Otherwise, you'll suffer afterwards. Ling Xiao did not pay attention to Tai Yunshan at all, causing Tai Yunshan to feel embarrassed. She did not dare to hit people here. Otherwise, she would lose her qualifications. No matter how stupid she was, she still had to control her emotions. Ling Xiao had already begun to check the tools. After confirming it, he picked up the name of the pill that was placed there. At that moment, he could not help but frown. Qi Eruption Pill. This kind of Qi Eruption Pill was a standard, low-grade Huang grade pill. It could allow Transcendence and Heaven Vein cultivators to erupt with powerful combat strength for a short period of time. Of course, after the eruption, there would be a relatively long period of weakness. Ling Xiao had never refined this kind of pill before because it felt that this thing was of little value. Many special martial arts could be used to replace it. Of course, more importantly, the refining of this qi eruption pill required a very high degree of control over the flame because it required all the medicinal efficacies to be injected in an instant. Although it was a low-grade Huang-grade pill, even if a mid-grade Huang-grade alchemist refined it, the failure rate was very high. Ling Xiao, you don't need to refine that qi eruption pill. Change it. You can't refine that thing successfully. Tai Mu suddenly said, and this should be our staff's mistake. Although the effect of the qi eruption pill is only low-grade Huang-grade, the difficulty of refining it is mid-grade Huang-grade. Lin also nodded his head. No need. Ling Xiao shook his head. To others, this qi explosion pill might be very difficult to refine, but to him, this was not a problem. After all, not only was his control of the fire extremely outstanding, it was practically perfect. Keep pretending. The president and my grandfather are trying to persuade you out of goodwill. Yet you refuse to listen. If you fail the test later, just wait and cry. Tai Yunshan snorted coldly and began to concentrate on refining his own pills. In her eyes, Ling Xiao was a guy who overestimated himself. As for Sikongyu, she didn't even glance at the other examinees from beginning to end. She had been concentrating all her attention on her own test. Ling Xiao, you have to think carefully. If you fail, it will be too late for regrets. Tai Mu reminded, Thank you for your concern, Master Tai Mu. I feel that I have the ability. Ling Xiao said, All right then, you can continue. Since he couldn't persuade Ling Xiao, since he had already done his best, there was no need to persuade him anymore. In the process of choosing the herbs, the others all asked for 3 sets, but Ling Xiao only asked for 1 set. Because to him, 1 set was enough. Even if he wanted so much, he couldn't take it away. Why? What's wrong with this kid? He actually only asked for 1 set of herbs. Is he going to give up? Seeing this scene, Lin frowned and said, Who recommended him? President, he doesn't have a recommendation letter. He was let in by the guards at the entrance. The lady in green replied, Nonsense, call those 2 guys over. I want to ask them personally. Lin Feng now felt that Ling Xiao was here to cause trouble. Otherwise, how could a 16-year-old youth only take 1 set of ingredients to refine the most difficult low-grade Huang level pill, the qi explosion pill? How could this be explained? Could it be that he was really that confident? Old Lin, don't be so nervous. His cultivation doesn't seem to have reached the Grotto Heaven realm. Even if he wants to cause trouble, he won't be so brazen. Tai Mu said with a smile. Then, you mean that he really has the confidence to refine the qi explosion pill in 1 try? Lin asked. I don't know. Let's wait and see. Tai Mu wasn't sure either. At this moment, those who had chosen the herbs had basically started to refine the pills, including Si Kongyue and Tai Yunshan. The pills that the 2 of them refined were considered average and not the easiest. However, it was still easier than Ling Xiao's qi explosion pill. It could be seen that Tai Mu and Lin didn't cheat. Boom! At this moment, there was a sudden explosion in the hall. It turned out that a cauldron had exploded. Eliminated. It was very common for cauldrons to explode during the alchemist assessment. It was because of this that a recommendation letter was required. However, those who had a recommendation letter might not necessarily be the real deal. This was a little helpless. After that, 5 to 6 people exploded their cauldrons. Not only were they injured from the explosion, but they also ruined the herbs. For such people, the Alchemist Association had to compensate for their losses. Of course, it wasn't the association that compensated them. They had to compensate the association. This was also to prevent more and more irresponsible people from coming here to cause trouble in the future. Exploding cauldrons wouldn't affect others. This was because every candidate was trapped in a small array. Even if a cauldron exploded, it would only hurt themselves and not affect others. Perhaps because of the explosion, Lin and Tai Mu temporarily relaxed their attention on Ling Xiao. It wasn't a good thing for 5 to 6 people to explode their cauldrons. President, what's the matter? Lin wasn't in a good mood. Therefore, when someone came to report to him, his attitude wasn't good either. Those 2 guards are here, the lady in green said awkwardly. What's wrong with the 2 of you? You let that kid in without a recommendation letter. Aren't you afraid that he will cause trouble? Perhaps because he was angry, Lin's voice was a little loud. This caused Ling Xiao to temporarily stop what he was doing and look over. The chi explosion pill was nothing to him, so it didn't matter if it was delayed. President, he has Samadhi true fire, that guard hurriedly explained. I don't care about Samadhi true fire. Wait, what did you say? He has Samadhi true fire? Lin's eyes suddenly widened, like a bull's eyes. Are you sure? There's no need for them to be sure. Old Lin, look. Tai Mu suddenly pointed to Ling Xiao's position and said. Lin turned his head and saw that under Ling Xiao's cauldron, a crimson flame was rolling nonstop. It was constantly releasing strong heat, causing all the surrounding flames to pale in comparison. It's really Samadhi true fire, Lin shouted in surprise. As the president of the Alchemist Association, he shouldn't have lost his composure like this. However, he couldn't help it. He was simply too excited. Chapter 1131. A martialist with one of the 12 divine flames was an absolute treasure for the Apothecary Association. They had to be recruited into the association no matter what. The true Samadhi flame was the flame most suitable for alchemy among the 12 divine flames, and was something that countless people would fight to own. How could he not be excited? If he only possesses the true Samadhi fire, then so be it. But this kid's control of the true Samadhi fire is so skillful that it doesn't seem like the actions of an amateur. Perhaps we 2 old fellows have misjudged him. Tai Mu also said solemnly, That's right. It's not easy to control a divine flame. Even a yellow-grade alchemist wouldn't be able to use it as freely as he does. Martialists with the true Samadhi flame, martial soul, would have a hard time using this flame to refine pills unless they reached the grotto heaven grade. At the very least, they wouldn't be able to do it as easily as he did. This kid isn't simple. Lin's originally angry expression started to show some joy. He isn't just not simple. I think he has already become a low-grade, yellow-grade alchemist a long time ago. He just didn't come to the Apothecary Association to take the assessment. Tai Mu smiled bitterly. That can't be. He is only 16 years old. Based on what you said, wouldn't he have already learned alchemy in his mother's womb? Lin shook his head. The truth is right in front of us. I'm not making it up. Tai Mu shrugged his shoulders. Could the Yuan Venerate really still be alive? If he is, then I'm afraid he will become a strong contender for the position of the Apothecary Association's president. I'm afraid our current president is going to panic. Lin suddenly chuckled. The current president didn't have a good reputation. He had only obtained this position with the support of a certain someone. Originally, the president of the Apothecary Association didn't belong to any country's living forces and existed independently. However, to a certain extent, he was about to become a subsidiary organization of someone else. Although many people were dissatisfied, they didn't dare voice their displeasure. After all, almost everyone who dared to speak up had been dealt with. Lin was also one of the people who was unhappy with the current president. If the Yuan Venerate was really still alive, it would be great news for the Apothecary Association. At the very least, they wouldn't have to be controlled by others in the future. I don't know if a Yuan Venerate is still alive, but I do know that this kid isn't any worse than Sikongyu. Youngsters nowadays are really not to be underestimated. Tai Mu smiled bitterly and said, Originally, my granddaughter had always treated Sikongyu as a target to pursue. Now, a fellow who might not be inferior to Sikong has appeared out of nowhere. She should be crying. That might not be the case. Being able to skillfully control the divine flame does not mean that he can perfectly refine pills. After all, other than controlling the flame, there are many other requirements when refining pills. This includes the strength of one's spiritual strength, understanding of medicinal ingredients, etc. It is still too early to say that he is not inferior to Sikong. Lin shook his head. Let's wait and see. Taimu smiled and didn't say anything else. He was also very interested now. What kind of shocking result could Ling Xiao create? Countless people were paying attention to Ling Xiao. It was not because of his handsomeness, but because of his skillful alchemy skills. Sikong Yu's talent in alchemy wasn't weak. She was actually able to control the flame while paying attention to the commotion caused by Ling Xiao. Previously, she really hadn't paid much attention to Ling Xiao. At most, she had thought that Ling Xiao's appearance was passable. However, Sikong Yu had never cared much about a man's appearance. She was more concerned about a person's talent. She had always thought that her control of the flame and her grasp of medicinal ingredients were the best among the younger generation. However, when she looked at Ling Xiao, her arrogance and condescension seemed to have crumbled instantly. "This is impossible," she exclaimed. She had actually failed to refine the pill because she had been distracted. She didn't pay too much attention to it. Instead, she continued to watch Ling Xiao's hands move up and down. Those were simply a pair of demonic hands. Even the Alchemist Association's branch president, Lin, and the branch president, Taimu, didn't have such skillful skills. Could this kid have learned alchemy when he was in his mother's womb? This made her pride crumble instantly. On the other side, Tai Yunshan's pill had also failed. It was also because she was shocked by Ling Xiao's outstanding alchemy skills. This guy actually pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. He made me lose face. Tai Yunshan suddenly felt ashamed when she thought of the words she said in front of Ling Xiao. She actually said that others would fail and explode. However, the one who had failed was her. This kind of reversal was a little hard for her to accept. It was simply too tragic. The two of them looked at each other for a long time before reluctantly retracting their gazes. They once again placed the second set of medicinal ingredients into the pill furnace. No matter how surprised they were, they still had to complete the assessment first, especially Sikong Yu. Although she was shocked by Ling Xiao's outstanding skills, she still didn't want to admit defeat. This was only the low yellow level alchemist assessment. After that, she still had to take the intermediate and advanced alchemist assessment. If she performed well, she believed that she wouldn't have any problems obtaining the yellow level advanced alchemist certification. No matter how good Ling Xiao's skills were, if his level was lower than hers, then she would still have the advantage. Thinking of this, she instantly became spirited again. However, Ling Xiao, who she treated as a competitor, didn't notice the two's reactions and thoughts. At this moment, Ling Xiao had already put all his energy into refining the Qi explosion pill. Just as Lin and Taimu said, although the divine fire's effects were better for refining pills, it was also harder to control. If he didn't have the mountain river martial soul, he probably wouldn't be able to do this. Thus, he had to be even more careful and attentive. If he failed, then it would be embarrassing. After all, he only took one set of ingredients. If it was ruined, then he wouldn't have any more ingredients to use. Refining pills was very boring. Time also passed very quickly. Unknowingly, an hour had already passed during the boring refining process. In order to refine a perfect grade Qi explosion pill, Ling Xiao put in a lot of thought. He didn't want to refine that kind of defective pill. It would ruin his reputation. Since he was going to refine it, then it had to be perfect. A perfect grade Qi explosion pill could eliminate flaws. After using it, it wouldn't cause the body to become weak. This could be considered as benefiting martial artists. It's done! Time was almost precise to the smallest unit. Ling Xiao waved his hand and opened the cauldron. A fragrance wafted out, and a crimson red pill flew out. Ling Xiao picked up the porcelain bottle that he prepared and put the pill inside. The entire process was done in one go. In the eyes of others, it was especially cool and elegant. Clap, clap, clap. The moment he finished refining the pill, there was a huge round of applause. This applause definitely didn't come from one person. The audience basically applauded. Even Tai Yunshan, who had already finished refining the pill. Chapter 1132. Tai Yunshan's temper wasn't very good. She had been spoiled since she was young, but she had a good point. She wouldn't be jealous of those who were stronger than her. Instead, she would admire them. Sikong Yu didn't clap. Her face wasn't very good, and it was a little pale. She had waited for this day for a long time. Her father had died, but she wanted to become someone stronger than him. But now, Ling Xiao had appeared and disrupted all her plans. Even though her assessment had yet to end, Ling Xiao's every move had attracted the praise of so many people. Even with her beauty, she was unable to snatch the applause from the crowd. At the very least, she was considered to have failed in this test. And it was a complete failure. There were still people in the assessment area who were continuing to refine pills. After all, the time limit was 1 day. Ling Xiao, Tai Yunshan, and Sikong Yu had finished so early because their talent was better and they practiced more on a daily basis. Little brother, you really don't show off. With this technique, I'm afraid you're even more outstanding than many of the older generation alchemists. Tai Mu said with a bitter smile, Sir, you're too kind. I'm only displaying what I've learned. I wonder if I've passed the assessment. Ling Xiao asked. No hurry. Let's first check Sikong Yu and Tai Yunshan's pills. After all, they finished first. Lin's attitude towards Ling Xiao became very good. Although it couldn't be said to be respectful, it was at least very respectful. Of course, Ling Xiao wasn't an unreasonable person. Moreover, President Lin gave him a good impression. Yunshan, your pills have been successfully refined. However, the quality isn't good enough. You still need to work harder. But congratulations, you're already a low-grade Huang rank alchemist. You can register later and get your alchemist certificate, Lin and Tai Mu said after checking Tai Yunshan's pills. Hearing this, Tai Yunshan was obviously relieved. She didn't want to compete with anyone now. She only wanted to pass the assessment. Sikong Yu, your pill refinement is almost perfect. It's more than 90%. It's quite good. This means that your pill refinement level is actually higher than low-grade Huang rank alchemists. Do you want to continue with the intermediate alchemist assessment? Lin asked. Of course. Sikong Yu glanced at Ling Xiao and nodded firmly. Since he couldn't compare with Ling Xiao in terms of the refinement process and the perfection of the pills, then he could only surpass Ling Xiao in terms of the level of alchemy. All right, since that's the case, your pharmacist certificate won't be issued for the time being. We'll talk about it after you've completed all the tests. Lin smiled and finally walked up to Ling Xiao with Tai Mu. Ling Xiao passed the porcelain bottle containing the pills to Lin. At this moment, many people gathered around. Just now, Ling Xiao used the true Samadhi fire, and the refining skills he displayed during the refining process were also very outstanding. They really wanted to know what kind of pill this refined was. Sikong Yu and Tai Yunshan also watched this scene nervously. Although Sikong Yu already believed that Ling Xiao's pill would definitely be more perfect than hers, she still had a little bit of expectation that the result would be different from what she imagined. What kind of pill did you refine? Tai Mu asked. Qi explosion pill. Ling Xiao replied. That's not right. The Qi explosion pill is obviously dark red and doesn't have any luster, but your pill is bright red and has a very high luster. This isn't a Qi explosion pill, right? Sikong Yu said loudly. Ling Xiao didn't explain. If the two alchemists couldn't see what was going on with his pill, then he would really be worried about the standard of the Alchemist Association. He might as well not join. This should be a perfect grade Qi explosion pill, right? And you even ignored the side effects? Lin asked with a smile. The president has a good eye. That's right, this is indeed a perfect grade Qi explosion pill. After taking it, there aren't any side effects, and the duration of the Qi explosion is much longer. Ling Xiao nodded. Perfect grade pill. It can't be, right? This kind of pill can only be seen in books. Can anyone refine it in real life? Sikong Yu couldn't believe it. She already had a high opinion of Ling Xiao, but a perfect grade Qi explosion pill was really something she couldn't accept. Whether it's true or not, you'll know after trying it. Ordinary Qi explosion pills can only last for 1 minute at most. As far as I know, the perfect grade Qi explosion pill can last for 3 minutes. Ling Xiao, how long can your Qi explosion pill last? Lin asked. After all, he had never seen a perfect grade pill before, so to make an accurate judgment, he had to test it out. 5 minutes. Ling Xiao replied. 5 minutes. You have to be reliable. You can't speak carelessly just because your pill is beautiful, Sikong Yu said. Sikong Yu said, President, you should find someone to test it out. Even if I explain, I don't think anyone will believe me. Ling Xiao didn't explain anything because the truth was the best explanation. Lin took the pill and swallowed it directly. His cultivation was at the half-step Grotto Heaven realm. In the Heavenly Dragon continent, except for a few Yin-Yang realm experts, Heaven realm experts were considered absolute powerhouses. One had to know that in the Heavenly Dragon continent's 12 sects, experts who had just entered the Heaven realm were inner court elders. It was still the same now. On the Heavenly Dragon continent, the cultivation of cultivators was generally lower. This was something that couldn't be helped. Those who could advance to the Grotto Heaven realm were very rare. Strictly speaking, the half-step Grotto Heaven realm also belonged to the Heaven realm. It was just that, above 10 directions heaven, one could enter the Grotto Heaven realm. Although the effect of the Qi explosion pill would be greatly reduced for cultivators of this level, as an alchemist, Lin could clearly distinguish the true effect of the Qi explosion pill. He wouldn't be at ease if he let others use it. A moment later, Lin couldn't help exclaiming, being able to allow me to enter my explosive state for 10 breaths of time. I'm afraid this pill of yours is even more powerful than you said. If an ordinary transcendent realm cultivator were to use it, they would be able to maintain this state for 10 minutes or even a quarter of an hour. I see. Tai Mu had never heard of Lin having such a high evaluation of a pill. However, Lin would definitely not be biased towards Ling Xiao. He was very clear about this point. In other words, this Qi explosion pill was really powerful. Sikong Yu's face instantly turned pale. She was completely defeated. The little bit of expectation she had disappeared at this moment. Congratulations, Ling Xiao. You've passed the low-grade yellow-level alchemist assessment. Are you still willing to take the assessment? Lin asked with a smile. Of course I'm willing, but taking the assessment step by step is too slow. Can I take the yellow-level super alchemist assessment directly? A yellow-level super alchemist was the most powerful alchemist in the yellow level. So far, no one had heard of such an alchemist on the Heavenly Dragon continent and Divine Phoenix continent. Chapter 1133. Little brother, don't joke around. Our Shanghai Apothecary Association only has the qualifications to get a Huang level apothecary certificate and below. If you really want to get a Huang level apothecary certificate and above, I'm afraid you'll have to go to the Five Immortal Island or the White Tiger continent to try. Tai Mu smiled bitterly. Ling Xiao really didn't know about this. He shrugged helplessly and said, Forget it. Since it's not possible, then forget it. I'll just take the Huang level apothecary examination. When Ling Xiao said he wanted to take the Huang level apothecary examination, everyone thought it was just a joke, so they didn't take it seriously and didn't have such a big reaction. However, at this moment, when they heard Ling Xiao's words, they couldn't help but be stunned. Are you sure you want to take the Huang level apothecary examination? Why? I can't. Ling Xiao said helplessly. Didn't you guys say that Shanghai Apothecary Association has the qualifications? Why can't I? Ling Xiao, what kind of joke are you making? Huang level apothecary is such a sacred certification. The two people standing in front of you spent over 100 years to reach this level. You're actually making such a joke. You're not serious at all. Sikong Yu shouted sternly. No, Miss Sikong. I want to take the Huang level apothecary examination. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with you. Why are you so agitated? Ling Xiao was puzzled. Logically speaking, Sikong Yu didn't know that he killed her father, Sikong Zun. Why was she always going against him? All right, stop arguing. Lin waved his hand and said, Ling Xiao, let me ask you very seriously. Are you joking with me just now? After all, you have to know that a Huang level apothecary examination costs a lot of money. It's also a huge burden for our branch. Therefore, it can't be as casual as a Huang level apothecary examination. President, I'll also say this responsibly. I do want to take the apothecary examination. Ling Xiao's expression also became serious. After getting Ling Xiao's confirmation, everyone present was a little dazed. Their brains couldn't work anymore. It must be known that although a 16-year-old low-level Huang level pharmacist was powerful, it was still acceptable. Even a genius like Sikong Yu could achieve this. It was just that Sikong Yu had been delayed for a few years, so she only passed the examination at the age of 17, but everyone could still accept it. However, what kind of concept was a 16-year-old Huang level advanced apothecary? Although Sikong Yu kept saying that she could pass the test, in reality, she only had less than 30% confidence. However, Ling Xiao's attitude was as if he was making a solemn vow. If this kid isn't a monster, then he's definitely an idiot. Does he really think that the certification of a yellow-level advanced apothecary is a joke? I think he's just trying his luck. A high-grade yellow-level alchemist must be able to concoct high-grade yellow-level pills, and the perfection rate must be at least 60%. Can he do it? Don't get carried away. Although I admire you, the alchemist examination is a very sacred matter. You can't joke about it. Tai Yinshan looked at Ling Xiao and said, If you fail the test, not only will you have to pay for the damages, but you will also be punished by the Apothecary Association. Can you do that? I should be able to do it. Ling Xiao said calmly. Let's put it this way. How confident are you? Tai Mu was also a little nervous. Could it be that they really met a super genius in the alchemist world today? Be humble and say that I'm 100% confident. Ling Xiao said casually. Be humble? 100% confident? Was this modesty or bragging? Ling Xiao really wasn't bragging. He could even concoct a high-grade yellow-level pill. So refining a high-grade yellow-level pill wasn't a problem at all. It was just that due to the limitations of his cultivation, he might not be able to concoct too many in a short period of time. After all, concocting pills would consume internal energy, soul force, mental energy, and other factors. It was very taxing on a martial artist. If one's cultivation wasn't enough, then they wouldn't be able to withstand the torment. No one would believe such words. No one would dare to believe such words. 100% confident? You're just bragging. I've also seen many arrogant youths. They had also announced how strong they were in a certain field, but in reality, they weren't strong enough. Sikong Yu stared at Ling Xiao and said, You're as arrogant as them. You don't know what you're talking about. Ling Xiao smiled and looked at Lin. You're the president here. If you don't want me to take the yellow-level advanced alchemist certification, I can choose to leave immediately. Anyway, When I reach the divine Phoenix continent, there's also the Alchemist Association. I won't be hanging myself on a tree. Men immediately arrange for the yellow level Advanced Alchemist certification. Lin clenched his teeth and finally made up his mind. What was a little loss of money? If he really succeeded, then he would have done a great service. He might even be transferred back to the headquarters from the Divine Dragon Continent. He was already tired of staying in this small place. With such a great service, how could he give it to someone else? What are you waiting for? Go. Seeing that his subordinates didn't move, Lin roared again. Ling Xiao, don't worry. We accept your participation in the yellow level Advanced Alchemist certification. Thank you very much. Ling Xiao nodded his head. Although the Divine Phoenix continent had the same organization, it was too troublesome to travel back and forth. It was better to get the certification here. One must know that an Advanced Alchemist certification was absolutely respected in the Divine Phoenix continent, Divine Dragon continent, and even the Five Immortal Island. A lot of things would become very simple. The people from the Alchemist Association went to prepare for the certification. Lin didn't lie. The Advanced Alchemist certification required a lot of effort. It might involve some precious herbs that were really not easy to obtain. Therefore, under normal circumstances, people who weren't 70 to 80% confident would definitely not be allowed to take the certification. It was too wasteful. Little brother, although we've already agreed to let you participate in the test, the two of us old men are bearing the risk. You can't fool us. If we fail, we'll become the laughingstock of our peers. Tai Mu said with a smile, Don't worry. The two of you will only be envied by your peers. You won't become their laughingstock. What I want to know now is, what benefits will there be after becoming an official member of the Alchemist Association? Although Ling Xiao had heard a little about it in the past, it was only hearsay after all. It would be better for him to consult a proper guild leader. Only then would he be able to obtain accurate information. Of course there are benefits. There are quite a lot of benefits. Tai Mu said with a smile, First of all, herbs. Think about it. If you want to get a precious herb by yourself, I'm afraid it will be very difficult, right? But after joining the Alchemist Association, you can share it with all the members. You should know that the Alchemist Association has branches on the 13 continents and many islands in the mysterious world. Our members are all over the mysterious world. Some herbs have special origins. Even if you know where they are, it will be difficult to travel thousands of miles. We can use special methods to bring these herbs to you. You can exchange with other alchemists or buy them at a lower price. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.